The story will tell about a guy who decided to change his fate to become an emperor and chose a completely different way. The main thing for him is to finally feel what a free person is. The hero also got a great power that will help him in battle. The guy owns a token that reminds him of the past in the imperial palace. Nevertheless, he is convinced that thanks to his strength, even heaven recognizes his dominant position. The young man goes hard, helping himself with a stick. It looks at Taishan, a mystical mountain peak. He went to the grave, on which he laid a golden token. From impotence and sadness, the guy lay on the ground near the burial. He mentioned Sun Lian and stuck because he was able to fulfill only one promise to him. A bright blue butterfly, which exactly had some value to the boy, flew nearby. This is due to his imperial destiny. Emperor Chu Yuanshan spends time with his grandson Chu Yunwen, asking him what power is. The boy seems that strength is flowers. He tells that both flowers and power are talking about all, despite their origin. And to get this, they go to the capital. To confirm, Chu Yunwen indicates a butterfly sitting on a flower. The emperor is satisfied with the mind of grandson. Just in case, Chu Yuanshan stressed that even the brightest flower can fade, and very quickly. A few years later, the emperor died, and the next was to become Chu Yunwen. There was simply no more suitable heir. The Prince of Yanvan was a mean man who was still on the last will of the deceased. Chu Yunwen was puzzled by the behavior of his native uncle who called him and expelled him from the palace. Yanvan said that everything had the price and exposed the sword. Eyewitnesses, deciding to kill the sky. The man is so crazy about becoming an emperor that he arranged a coup during which he killed all the disagreements. Young Chu Yunwen helped to escape Master Sun Lian, taking him out through a secret passage. In addition, the guy got a pointer to rise to the top of Taishan Mountain, put a token on the monument, and find two people who are completely true to the past emperor. Chu Yunwen cried that he did not want to continue his life filled with shame. Sun Lian was angry and ordered to survive at any cost and maintain the honor of Chu Yuanshan. Then he let the tear and asked the heir to promise that he would save his life. After that, the guy saddled his horse and jumped to Taishan Mountain, and Sun Lian sincerely wished him good luck. Chu Yunwen despaired, remembering the conversation with his grandfather and dreaming of born to be a free butterfly instead of a flower that is easy. He fell asleep lying on the ground. The young man found two elders, first taking him as a beggar, but surprised that he has long hair. But when they noticed the token of the emperor, they realized who was in front of them. They were transferred to the cave. When the guy woke up, the elders introduced themselves to the secret guards of the former ruler. The name of them, Hwan No and Huej No. They said that that token is a symbol of a monarch that should only be stored with a true heir. The elders wanted Chu Yunwen to get the emperor's title, no matter what. The young man immediately replied that he did not need it. He wants to completely forget about the appointment and get ordinary life. Chu Yunwen also asked him to address him a young master instead of your majesty, because he was tired of being related to the imperial fate. Huej No is very upset. He hoped that the guy would fulfill the appointment, or at least a little effort for the sake of it. Chu Yunwen confessed that he wanted to change not only his name, but also everything in his life. Suddenly, Hwan No was revived, went close to the heir, and asked if he was really ready to forget his past. The guy said it was his dream, so he would be happy if it had happened. The old man replied that this is possible. Huej No realized what it was about and reminded it was forbidden. Hwan No was all the same because the heir wished. The young man immediately agreed if he was ready to give the freedom that the butterfly has. The old man explained that you need to choose any person who existed in reality, but now dead. Chu Yunwen said he chooses someone from Jianggu. He knew their history badly, but asked for such a person who had full freedom. Huej No did not like this idea very much because the young man does not understand who he actually talks about. After short thought, Hwan No said that such a description is best suited to the celestial demon. Although the other old man tried to stop the conversation about it, Chu Yunwen liked the name of the demon, and he agreed to the proposal. Hwan No started the ritual by lighting candles and taking gong depicting a demon. It turned out that once the old man stole a book with secret information about the calls and association of demons and pill with the souls of two of them. Huej No has surgery on the body of Chu Yunwen to fit for a ritual. He changed the position of some bones, used a pile of elixirs and poisons. It was difficult for an old man to do it because of his age, but the mistakes did not make. Van No liked his work, so he started a demon's challenge, but he was very dissatisfied that he was torn off from sleep. Van No began to explain that he wanted to give a awakened new life in the human body. The demon laughed when he realized what offer he made and refused. It was very surprised by the old man. Van No wondered why the answer was that. The demon replied that he did not want to become a person again because he really likes to be unsurpassed. He does not want to feel loneliness and boredom on earth. Anywhere, according to the demon, it is more interesting, even in hell, so he asked not to disturb him anymore, otherwise he could take his life. The old man did not fit at all. He began to think quickly how to persuade a demon to agree. Van No called the heavenly demon by an idiot who was angry with the spirit. He was almost ready to commit murder. The old man began to talk about Jan Sanfen's fictional ascetic, who has such a giant power that people of this generation believe that the power of the heavenly demon is worth nothing compared to him. Van No continued the story that humanity is constantly changing and improving its martial arts skills. The generation of the demon and the present do not even make sense to compare. The spirit was suggested to prove the irresistibility and invincibility, which he said so confidently because now it is in doubt. Upon learning that Chu Yunven 20 years, the demon concluded that the body should live at least a century and agreed to stay and prove that it is the strongest. The demon liked this idea that he promised to thank Van No after he finished his business. The old man began the procedure, and the soul of the heavenly demon gradually began to shimmer into the young man's body. Huejno gave the guy a pill and continued to bind the soul to the body. Chu Yunven woke up. His eyes became bright red. He began to grasp his head and said he was hearing voices in his head. The guy began to crazy and scream. Van No concluded that something went wrong. There was a clash of consciousness because the demon could not take the body under control. If you do not influence, then Chu Yunven will lose sense. Huejno proposed to remove the soul of the demon from the body, but in the stolen book it was not described, so no one knew how to do it. Van No mentioned that they have another pill. If you call another demon, it can help to partially suppress the demonic nature of the one they have already placed in the body of the heir. Huejno did not immediately understand the idea, but Van No explained that he wanted to transfer another soul, another legendary person into the guy. Chu Yunven's life was at high risk, so they did not break and began the process. This time, the procedure was successful. The guy was escaped and asked him to eat something. He was put on a lot of food, including the meat that he flew with great excitement. The elders finally exhaled quietly because they all turned out. But the heavenly demon disagrees with it, as it was in a very close place. Another essence in the mind of a young man was a grandfather with an aura of warm light yellow. He said, heavenly demon, that he thought he did not look really. Chu Yunven tired of listening to these conversations. He asked to be silent in the inhabitants of his body. The heavenly demon expected that the guy would feel pain from his conversations, but it was no longer happening. Chu Yunven says that everything is different now. The head is no longer split, and there is no discomfort in general, except for loud voices. The heavenly demon is dissatisfied with him. The strongest creatures in the world talk without respect. The new spirit, which was chosen into the body of the young man, was the patriarch of the Shaolin Huejnen Temple. Chu Yunven thanks him for the fact that the heavenly demon can no longer interfere. At the same time, he called the spirit a cloud of the old monk. This vulgar phrase did not like the elders. The character of the boy changed precisely because in his body simultaneously coexist 3 personalities. Chu Yunven began to treat the elders enough, demanding that they bring food and water to him, even as soon as possible. The young man wants to come up with a fighting name and asks for help from Huinen, as he is most experienced among those present. The spirit proposes to be called Volatility, but Chu Yunven did not appreciate this option because he thinks he will immediately want to kill with that name. The guy now asks the thoughts of the heavenly demon. He says he had to ask him at once because the old man could not know anything about steepness. And the name he offers the following: Iron Sura. This Chu Yunven also did not like it because it reminds him of the overseas title. The heavenly demon became very angry and tried to take control of the body. Despite all the outlook, nothing works. The presence of another essence does not allow the body to be captured. The demon decided to unite, but to wait for the opportunity to completely absorb his vessel. Chu Yunven notices that the purple essence is something tumor. The heavenly demon is twisted that it comes up with a new name, the Celestial Destroyer. This offer is liked by the guy, and he is finally determined by how he is called. After a while, Chu Yunven is going to go somewhere that interests the elders. They are surprised that the young man leaves them so quickly, and he tells that he is going on a journey through the Murum. The elders thought that Chu Yunven would stay for a while and improve martial arts skills. The guy is convinced that he has enough strength in himself thanks to a demon and monk. However, outraged elders do not believe him and do not want to let go so quickly. Chu Yunven finds a way to convince Huej No and Van No that they have nothing to worry about. He looked at a large tree on his way and suggested a little shampt. Together, they used force, causing the tree to hurt anyone anymore. Chu Yunven continued his way, singing the song and smiling. Van no doubt that everything will be fine, but the elders understand that the young man will not listen to them. The mighty tree came to the root completely. In addition, the road dug. The power of the air is a little frightened by the elders. Chu Yunven is already on the road, and Huej No and Van No think about it, worry about it. Van No noticed that the guy looks like the emperor's past. Elders hope that he will not forget the sacred writings. A half-naked massive man, soaked in blood, stands in the snow. It is a demonic King Hagunpyo that has faced people from the Orthodox fraction. He kneeled with a sword, and the face in white kimono surrounded a man on all sides. One of them says that H.A. Gunpyo has a spirit of martial arts master who has inherited, but luck is gone. He called himself and his people the Association of Northern Blades. Hagunpyo acknowledged that their association dominates the district, but considers themselves a student of a big school. He threatened that one day he would necessarily contribute to the death of the leader of the Association of Northern Blades. That man did not scare it. He assured H.A. Gunpyo that they set up the tenets of heaven and earth to catch all the 7 kings, and the enemy did not believe it. The man in the white kimono understood the plan of the king. He was to distract the association and promote the liberation of the brothers. But nothing happened, and Hagunpyo was in a not very profitable position. Then he smiled on his face that the brothers of the demonic king in that world. Hagunpyo rushed to the attack after such news, making a matter of fact that these people decided to dry the family of a demonic path. There was a fight with the man who provoked the king. Hagunpyo got a blow to the forehead. Members of the association are convinced that getting rid of the family is the right act. Hei Gunpyo believes that Hyaku Chen, the chief master of the demonic path, will stop these plans. However, he is told that the master himself will not be able to do anything, except now that the kings are killed, he did not even intervene. Hagunpyo replies that Hyaku Chen is not such a person, and that other demonic path brothers will definitely interfere with the Northern Blade associations. He was ordered to grasp the king, but he demonstrated the art of lightning and gave a decent repel to the attackers. Men in white kimono are surprised that the H.A. Gunpyo still has internal energy. The demonic king continues to strike, although they blocked his blade with the help of swords. One of the enemies emphasizes that H.A. Gunpyo is the last of the 7 kings, and today they will end their hunting. 3 swordsmen came out to produce the king. He was offered to give up so that he did not have to spend strength. They attacked their sacrifice. The power of the swords turned out to be really powerful. However, H.A. Gunpyo was not unusual because it skillfully owns lightning and struck another stroke. This force was able to counteract the swordsman, but the position of the king was still deplorable. It was here that Chu Yunven intervened, who just watched the collision before. The guy took away weapons from the swordsman in a moment, which caused them an aggressive reaction. In addition, he joked about them, reminding that the greatest shame for the martial arts master is just the weed selected. One of the swords, H.A. Dick Hyun, decided to calmly ask that this man prevented the admiration of the demonic king. The young man introduced himself to a heavenly demon by a celestial destroyer, which is why the purple essence was satisfied with a giggling and decided that Chu Yunven was not so terrible, he even liked it. The elders told Huinen about the philosophical and religious scriptures that were tormented by the demon, and he began to quote them so that he fell silent. Another swordsman grunted dissatisfied that there was no point in growing and getting acquainted. He turned to the young man on his own, showing his anger because of the dimension of their strength and resorting to tricks. He also concluded that the Heavenly Destroyer was also a follower of the demonic path, so he decided that he had to be killed and ordered. It was not necessary to repeat the swordsman. They ran into the attack, and the guy was in no hurry to do something. The Heavenly Demon has already thought that maybe Chiju Yunven would stand until it was killed. But the fact that the guy survived to the souls of the souls would not allow him to just put his hands in the face of danger. Despite the fact that the number of swordsmen was much higher, the Celestial Destroyer easily repelled to all attackers. Although Heavenly Demon still seemed that the guy did not use even half of his strength, causing the spirit to laugh. The members of the Association of Northern Blades have already begun to retreat, and the one who ordered the attack called them worthless. This man decided to attack the young man on his own, but he only managed to cut his hair. The Heavenly Destroyer gladly joked over the attacker, saying that he did not understand the values of the body he received from his parents. The swordsmen greatly merged what was happening, but they were unable to do it. No sword trying to engage the Heavenly Destroyer reached its goal. It seemed to one of the swords that they still had a great chance of winning, so he ordered everyone to unite and attack together. This method has encouraged the Heavenly Destroyer to the idea of another one can play with opponents. He raised his knee up and put his hands near his chest. The Heavenly Demon was surprised that the young man decided to use this rack. A whirlwind of the boy was circling a whirlwind, and the purple essence was abused from what was happening, because this technique is his symbol. Suddenly, there were many clones of the Heavenly Destroyer. It was probably impossible to find out who real. An angry sword on the whole throat shouted that this trick was worth nothing in battle with them. However, in practice, the swordsmen were confused and died one by one, falling on the ground covered with snow. Those who still had the opportunity rushed to run. The Heavenly Destroyer decided not to catch up with them, because it would be too painstaking. The Heavenly Demon, of course, would give preference to such development to kill everyone. Hagunpyo, who has not participated in the battle all this time, is also not very pleased that someone was able to escape. Still, he would like those who killed his brothers were punished. This did not prevent the demonic king to realize that a person with extraordinary opportunities appeared in this unbalanced world. Hagunpyo extremely bowed to the Heavenly Destroyer and asked him to take him with him on the road. The guy did not want to do it, called the king the hairy old, and fled as soon as possible. He went to the town of Kaifin, which lively discussed the latest events, namely that the swordsman and the Orthodox sect killed 6 demonic kings. But there was news that created a real fuss in the population. Of course, it concerned the Heavenly Destroyer, the one who killed 528 people from the Association of Northern Blades and 127 members of the Orthodox sect called the New Demonic God. People went to this amazing creature while Chu Yunven went nearby and eavesdropped conversations. Some rumors were very exaggerated. For example, someone said that the Heavenly Destroyer was able to look. The walk for the guy was quite informative. He learned that the swordsman sent the group to investigate and search it. The Heavenly Demon triumph. He is very pleased that everyone is talking about them, although it is only the beginning of their coexistence. Chu Yunven is not so joyful because he thinks that in vain clashes may occur because of this. In addition, he decided to mask somehow because Dik Hyon survived and remembers his face. He also learned about it from the locals. Huinan suggested that you could change the impression of people from the young man, then I would not have to be disguised. The guy visited the hotel where he was met by a smiling girl. He asked her a bottle with some alcohol and simple snacks. Dik Hyon was distrustful that the hotel worker looked closely at him. The girl apologized and confessed that she just liked his appearance. The alcohol brought had a very sharp smell, which was very different from what Dik Hyon used to be in the Imperial Palace. Huinan became interested in what a sense of feeling from him, which he wanted to learn from the Heavenly Destroyer. He also asked why this drink was different from the fact that the young man drank earlier. The heir to the emperor said that he had many opportunities to tasting alcohol, but he did not enjoy it. Alcohol always seemed too bitter. The old man heard the idea that the disease of the spirit spoils the taste. He gave advice not to make stupid mistakes and never kill innocent people, because the guy would definitely pay. Huinan suggested that if the Heavenly Destroyer avoids unnecessary deaths, he will once be able to feel the sweet taste of alcohol. The Heavenly Demon at the same time shared his life principle, kill or be killed. Huizhen asked the demon not to pump because Chiju Yunven has committed too many murders. The guy did not think that the fighting techniques of the demon would be so effective. His power allowed him to feel the desired freedom. However, if you use the opportunities received only for yourself, it will not make him a worthy man, but he can do his uncle. The guy promised Huinen that he would treat him with alcohol if one day feels a sweet taste. But this is a monk, so he refused. The demon noticed that someone was coming to their table and warned about it Chu Yunven. The young man suggested that it could be a member of the Union of Northern Blades and prepared his fists. The newcomer was a young boy and introduced himself as Tan Shan Vu from the Sichuan clan. He showed his group of boys and youths and suggested joining them. The appearance of the Heavenly Destroyer concluded that they are the same age as him, and because they could see weapons, they could be martyrs. In order not to be bored, and if you are lucky to get some useful information, the guy decided to agree and go to this group. The first introduced a young man with long red hair, Namgun Hyok Ryan, who has the title of Divine White Sword of the Dragon. Red-haired guy with wide shoulders called Fen Shan Hu. His title is Iron Blood Fist. One of the girls, Namgun Ayan, was a pleasure, and her twin sister Namgun Hyo Mi is not very. After everyone named their names and titles, Chu Yunven realized that they were descendants of large clans of martial arts. He introduced himself as a student Ven Yun, who is constantly traveling and finding himself in different cities. The heavenly demon did not appreciate the fact that the guy did not seem to be the name that he came up with him. According to the demon, no one would know him in any case. The group, which the main character met, consisted of 4 boys and 4 girls. Their social status is much higher than, for example, the members of the Association of Northern Blades. They belong to the League of 5 Clans, which has long been known and has a great reputation. The Heavenly Destroyer asked the groups what they are doing in this city because it is very far from the cities where their League members live. The Heavenly Demon was surprised that the guy knew Musain well, but he, as the future Emperor, had to study what and where he was on the continent. Fen Shan Hu replied that it is not just like that, but Ven Yun would still understand anything. The only thing he said was through certain events in Murim. Namgun Hyo Mi has supplemented that Kiefen is the base of northern blankets, although a bunch of poor lives in the city. The Heavenly Destroyer continued to ask, to which the girl answered angry that they came to visit the banquet from the association, which would be held for the entire faction. Namgun Hyok Ryan asked Namgun Hyo Mi, which turned out to be his younger sister, more politely talking to their new acquaintances. The guy asked for many questions. The fact is that it is poorly understood in the division of Murim into a faction. Namgun Hyok Ryan calmly came and was not mine to tell some details. He warned that Murima could be dangerous because a serious conflict is raised. The division into orthodox and demonic paths plays an important role in this. Everyone has to choose who to support. The Heavenly Destroyer wondered if it was possible to remain neutral in views and not to choose no side. The interlocutor explained that of course it is, but those who try to sit on 2 chairs are threatened with destruction. The Heavenly Destroyer for himself decided that this is a very stupid reason for killing someone. He asked who would kill people with a neutral position. It was found out that the Orthodox faction and their group are the same. Namgun Hyok Ryan shared his opinion on this. He does not consider the murder of supporters of the demonic path, and just those who do not show direct support for the Orthodox faction in the right way. The Heavenly Demon has recognized it with a very frank reasoning, especially for a person belonging to the Orthodox faction. Namgun Hyo Mi asked her brother not to speak such provocative thoughts in a place where they can listen to outsiders. The Heavenly Destroyer was somewhat surprised that the environment did not affect Namgun Hyok Ryan's position and decided to pay more attention to him and his expressions. Namgun Hyo Mi brother, although she did not like it, suggested a new acquaintance to ask him about everything she was interested in about the situation in Marima. The guy decided to take a little risk and ask who is the strongest person now. The atmosphere became more intense in a moment. The face of the members of the group was slightly skewed. It became clear that this issue was delicate. Namgun Hyok Ryan still decided to answer. No one can say unambiguous who is the strongest, because the world is great, and many masters of martial arts, moreover, not all of them lead a social lifestyle. The young man brought to the fact that someone is so strong, the skill of which will exceed the ability of all others, that no one will have doubts that this person is the most powerful. Namgun Hyuk Ryan thinks that such a person can appear at any time and no one will be able to answer what origin and past he will have. The Heavenly Destroyer asked about Huirnin, namely how strong he was. Such a question was surprised, as this patriarch lived a long time ago, 700 years ago. As soon as the heavenly demon heard that Huirnin was almost not remembered, he immediately began to laugh at the old man. The Heavenly Destroyer decided to ask in groups about the past purple essence. Namgun Hyuk Ryan suspected something unlawful because the guy said he was not known in Muram's history, and here he began to ask about little-known people of the past. He said that the story of this person is full of incredible facts, but it is difficult to be sure of them. The heavenly demon has angry such a response, because everyone in heaven and even beyond know that there are no fictions in his biography. The conversation was interrupted by a group of people in white kimono who went sharply into the institution. One of them, a rather elderly man, shouted at the girl, calling her and probably intending to hurt somehow. She had tears from her eyes, she was very frightened, begged to be merciful. Thanks to the color of the clothing, the Heavenly Destroyer realized that the crowd, which was included, members of the Association of Northern Blades. The man who attacked the girl is the Vice, captain of the White Tiger Sword Kadek Sam. He firmly grabbed the victim with a big strong hand behind her long hair and began to paint it. According to him, it became clear that the girl escaped from her father. For this act, the Vice Captain called her a bold girl. While she was screaming, asking for help, Kadek Sam noticed that someone was approaching him quickly. This was the Namgun Hyomi, who ran with a weapon, stretching his sword towards an aggressive member of the association. She condemned the fact that the city is full of lawlessness, and the master of martial arts allowed herself to attack a defenseless girl. Other people who watched the situation accepted its side and began to shout words of support. Kadek Sam has reported that interference with the Northern Blade Association's cases would not be unpunished. Namgun Hyomai named her name and assured that these threats would not work for sure. Vice Captain and people around were very surprised because the girl was the daughter of a sacred sword of Lazarov's sky. Kadek Sam has already set a calmer tone that it is breaching unwritten rules, interfering with the other sect. Namgun Hyomi reveals that she understands perfectly but could not ignore the violence that happens directly under her nose. She got involved because what is happening? She looks like a kidnapping and seeks to do it. Vice Captain said that a crying girl is a name of Sayu Chu Fen, and her father was the leader of the demonic sect of Kaifin. And they hunted it because the order of all close relatives of members of demonic sects was issued for the arrest of all close relatives. Kadek Sam says it is their duty, so it asks not to interfere with its performance, otherwise their group will apply force against Namgun Hyomi. Namgun Hyuk Ryan laughed through this threat, calling the association too proud. Here, the whole group of golden youth got up from their seats and came closer, showing that Namgun Hyomi was not alone. Meanwhile, the Heavenly Destroyer has already regretted several times that he agreed to dating, because he would probably have to fight again, because of which his popularity will only grow. Kadek Sam is still trying to resolve the conflict with words, repeating that he and his people are performing an official task. From his face, it is clear that the group of young people Vice Captain is extremely negative. He asked if Namgun Hyuk Ryan was threatening him, what he had cleared, and said that he still would have nothing to do with. Kadek Sam replied that in this case he would have to report on this situation. Another man in white kimono appeared in the institution. This is Woo Hyan Chan, a captain of another group, a smiling sword. He said it was a little thing and they needed to understand on their own instead of retreating. The members of the association officially congratulated the captain and bowed low. Heavenly Demon did not like the behavior and appearance of the newly arrived. He reminded him of the sticks for food. Woo Hyan Chan reproached Namgun Hyuk Ryan that he passes the limit of allowed. He also asks whether the guy is ready for consequences if he is learned by the head of the League of 5 Clans. The captain threatened that the reputation of Namgun Hyuk Ryan could be badly spoiled, which could prevent him from when he would rush his clan. He supplemented that it would be especially offensive if the relationship of the association and the League will deteriorate due to a girl in the demonic sect. Fen Shan-hu could not stand these threats and boldness, and rudely asked the captain to close his mouth until they attacked. Woo Hyan Chan recognized him and said that the heir to the Namgun clan he was in all respectful, and the Fen clan has a different status, and he would not recommend the guy something to say something, because the troubles would not be avoided. Later, the captain appealed to the subordinates with an order to surround this place and not let anyone out. The heavenly demon can no longer hold back his rage and offers him a peek. The heavenly destroyer disagrees this because it will be easy to recognize in the battle style. The demon does not consider this cause serious because you can just kill everyone. Huanan says that this time you can use his fighting style, then there will be no undesirable consequences. Uhayan Chan turned to Namgun Hyok Ryan with a question how their group will act. The guy asked to leave the girl to them. If they do not want it, he plans to go with them and follow how the investigation is going. Namgun Hyok Ryan does not consider Seo Chu Fen to be guilty of origin. The captain laughed at such an answer. His face turned into a brutal scratch. Kadek Sam noticed this facial expression and remembered that after him, the captain always killed someone. Still looking crazy, Uhian Chan said that the origin of Namgun Hyok Ryan did not help to make him smart because he doesn't understand how this world works. Crazy, the captain began to get his weapon from his back, saying that he could no longer tolerate a self-confident boy from a rich family. But he did not use the sword for a duel with Namgun Hyok Ryan. He lifted him to the neck of poor Sayo Chiju Fen. Namgun Hyok Ryan called him evil words and also expressed doubts that a person with such moral values could be considered a member of the orthodox sect. Uhayan Chan again clasped a frightening smile, coming up with a somewhat nasty. He began to cut a girl at his breast with a kimono, having managed to expose them a little. Seeing this, the heavenly destroyer could no longer interfere. He flew to the captain and hit him with a wave of his strength. The blow forced Uhayan Chan to fall on the floor and ride it to the wall. The brother and sister of the respectful clan shook their mouths with the surprise that their new acquaintance has such abilities. The heavenly destroyer flew into the air, the atmosphere thickened around him and flew particles of fire. Uhayan Chan got a little bit, but most affected by his honor. Some unknown guy died down. He noticed that the attacker was spreading in the air. It was very surprised by the captain, but he did not think that the guy belonged to the League. Then there is a logical question of who he is and where he came from. The heavenly destroyer ordered the man to let go of the girl, otherwise he would kill him. The captain asked who he was and why he intervened. He also noted that it belongs to the Association of Northern Blades. The guy hit him again with a force wave and asked to stop repeating his status and finally release the victim. Uhayan Chan tried to refuse, and a mighty hand of the heavenly destroyer rested on his stomach and caught pain again. For the efficiency of light, light flashes continued to other parts of the body of Uhayan Chan, namely at the point of blood pressure. The heavenly destroyer smiled and warned that it was not the maximum of his possibilities. But if the captain continues to resist, he will demonstrate it. The angry captain opened Pashchek and ordered the association members to kill a young man. Men in white kimono obedience and ran with swords on the celestial destroyer. The guy decided to use the demon's fighting reception again, which last worked very successfully. There were copies that began to strike stunning strikes on the attackers. The guy laughed at the fact that these people are so far, but nothing but a quantity, they could not overcome a decent competitor. Some of them tried to defeat at least with the help of a back blow to the back, but no attempt has lived expectations. The guy showed higher Shaolini techniques using his fists for counterattacks. Uhayan Chan decided to take part in the fight, and from the jump attacked the heavenly destroyer. With the help of another rusty, accurate strike of the palm, the guy dumped the captain. In order not to seem strong enough, he released a shock flame wave by his hand, throwing a man a few meters away. Namgun Hyok Ryan recognized this battle reception, called the highest inviolable palm. All enemies were unconscious. A group of young people was surprised to assume that the guy skillfully mastered all 72 Shaolin techniques. Namgun Hyomi appealed to Sue Chiju Fen and asked her condition, offering help. The heavenly destroyer approached the fallen captain and, using the technique of transmitting the speech mentally, ordered him to go from here to pick up his subordinates. The threat of causing the pain that Uhayan Chan has never felt as if he had finally been. All eyewitnesses of the fight were now so closely looking at the winner that he felt the squeeze. The guy, as she was starving, suggested to remove in the hall, because of these events he began to look at all presentable. After ordering, everyone gathered at one table to finally eat. Even Hyun-chan sat with them. The Heavenly Destroyer smilingly explained that he suggested that the captain join in order to settle the conflict a little. Fun Chan-hu made a claim because the guy had duplicated their company and now behaves as if nothing was, even jokes. Namgun Hyo-mi supported his words in conversation. The girl was worried that the guy pretended to be a newcomer and then won a bunch of prepared soldiers. And her sister, Namgun Ayan Gai, began to like even more. The Heavenly Destroyer apologized and explained that he had reasons to hide his personality. He asks not to know the details, but the guy assures that he was not lying about everything. In Murama, he really was the first time. The hero of the day apologizes and hopes that no one will keep his image on him. He also allows him to ask him some questions that are most interested in the company and do not relate to the young man. Namgun Hyuk Ryan does not want to quarrel and spoil relationships with a new acquaintance, but asks to tell more about circumstances that do not allow to reveal true origin so that there is no feeling of betrayal. The Heavenly Destroyer reappeared, but said he would no longer hide why he has such force. He said that he inherited the mantra from Huenin, which caused a universal surprise at the table. The Heavenly Demon noted that the guy was able to invent nonsense, but the second spirit said that the guy's words were partially true. Namgun Hyo-mi was hard to believe, as this patriarch lived a long time ago, and a person from today could not inherit him. The girl did not ask seriously whether the guy became immortal from the mantra. Fen Chan-hu believes that this is an absolute fool and just could not be. The Heavenly Demon mocked that the man could not blame this company. The Heavenly Destroyer continued to invent history. Said that of course he did not meet Huinan in real life. He told that he grew up on Mount Taishan and came across an abandoned cave in his childhood. The boy decided to explore her and found a magical book with ancient writings. He went to the cave every day and explored texts. It was difficult, took many years, but one day he was able to take advantage of the force he wrote about. This story could not cause full trust. Namgun Hyuk Ryan noted that the coincidence was extremely successful for the guy. However, the heir of the influential clan said that their group would easily forgive the deception, and the Orthodox clan should be rejoicing that there is a person who has such power. The young man also said that the hierarchy in Murim plays an important role, so they will be treated with Ven Yun with all caution. Otherwise, it is impossible to inherit the divine will of Shaolin. He asked friends if they agree with him. Everyone responded with the absolute support of his words. Yu Hyun-chan, who was all the time near the Celestial Destroyer, thought why he was sitting with these idiots. The guy read his thoughts and mentally asked to relax and not create problems. At the same time, he kept a calm facial expression and did not look at the neighbor so that no one suspected that they were exchanging thoughts. The Heavenly Destroyer allowed him to go from here if he intends to cling to someone again, even his own dissatisfaction. He threatened Scary to punish if Yu Hyun-chan disseminates unnecessary information. The man is very angry that such a young guy has difficult technique that can separate thoughts and actions, and also allows you to hear what he thinks. Now the Heavenly Destroyer turned to the captain aloud, soaping if they had any misunderstanding. Yu Hyun-chan just as cute that no. It hopes that the conflict is exhausted. So the Heavenly Destroyer said that it is probably the captain. It is still necessary to treat combat wounds. When Namgun Hyuk Ryan learned that the guy had nowhere to spend the night, he suggested going to them with them to a nearby hotel, where their group had already called things. The Heavenly Destroyer agreed, and late in the evening decided to visit the bath in the open air. The young man wanted to live a peaceful life, but something went out of plan. The Heavenly Demon said that strong people live that way. The guy turned to Huenin and said he was guilty of him, because he used his techniques today. But the old man assured that he should not think about it. The Heavenly Destroyer was slightly dormant. Suddenly, some boldly came to him and woke up. It was H.A. Gunpyo, which the guy recently saved from the Association of Northern Blades. The Heavenly Destroyer immediately recognized the man, but for him was a wonder that he went such a way to find him. Hagunpyo began to beg the young man again to take him with him on a journey. The boy's ears began to fade from these requests. He wondered why he was looking for him. The man was full of determination to devote the life of the person who saved him. The Heavenly Demon suggested that nothing would be bad. On the contrary, it is good when there is a person who is true and ready to help. The Heavenly Destroyer still doubted. If he takes another person with him, especially such a large one, it will increase the risk of attracting attention. But the desire to have an assistant outweighed, so the young man agreed to take Ha Gunpyo. He told the man that now he was missing the skills to help the boy, and ordered to go where he would say to get off and enhance his skill. The Heavenly Destroyer sent a Gunpyo to Huan-no and Huej-no on Taishan Mountain. The man was carrying a giant pile of things behind his back, and he had to look for this place for a long time. He greeted the elders and reported that he had arrived at them by order of his master, Van-no and Huej. No were not very glad that the Heavenly Destroyer told someone about their secret place. The young master, meanwhile, was engaged in Huenin, who taught the guy to concentrate on energy flows. The spirit praised the Heavenly Destroyer for diligence and acknowledged that the lesson helped him better control internal energy. The Heavenly Demon does not understand why doing such elementary things. Huenin noted that training something easy is also important. The demon decided to ask the Heavenly Destroyer about his immediate plans. The guy replied that he did not have them. The purple essence ridiculed the boy's strong enough body, which is why he could not teach him his techniques. He also suggested that he come up with plans on his own. The guy did not like the prospect of what someone would say what to do and where to go. The demon is dissatisfied. He is convinced that without his help, no ambitions of the Heavenly Destroyer will make sense. Huenin intervened in dialogue and said that everything is happening in natural harmony, so you can just trust the universe. The guy stopped this conversation, not wanting the spirits to interfere with his life so much. He thought that although he was passed on the martial arts skills, he did not appear. He asked why it happened, to what the Heavenly Demon replied that everything would return when the guy had the necessary strength and stumbles well with internal energy. He specified that the Celestial Destroyer needs to increase their strength 10 times, then they will take the full shape with Huenin. In addition, if the guy is applied to the ghost technique, he will not affect in any way, but someone of the spirits and help in his body will be able to insert. It was in this case that the Heavenly Demon could become free and seize control of the body, but he, of course, did not say that. Instead, the demon said that they could be transferred to the underworld or to other people's bodies, and less interfere with the Heavenly Destroyer. When the guy plunged into a dream, his grandfather met there, but he did not recognize him at first. The young man in a dream turned on himself as a child. He cried and told his grandfather that he was very sad for him. The emperor finally paid attention to the boy, gently holding his palms on his face. He asked his grandson not to miss and reminded that he should go his way now. He warned that the guy did not harm the world the way the world hurt him. Grandpa called him not to become a demon who only need revenge. He said Ven Yun is a strong man and later dissolved in the fog. The guy woke up the spirits because they noticed that he had dreamed of something unpleasant. The Heavenly Destroyer decided not to tell the details of sleep, simply thanked the demon and Huenin. All three unexpectedly found that someone was trying to penetrate the guy's room. The Heavenly Destroyer thought that these offended enemies were sent to the killer after 2 disgraceful battles for them. The Heavenly Demon realized that it was a woman. It puzzled the young man. A beautiful pink-haired girl came into the room, but she was unfamiliar with the Heavenly Destroyer, so it seemed strange why she came late at night. She approached the bed and said that at first sight, she realized that he was her fate. She put her hand on him and confessed that she did not want to lose the boy, so she gained courage and came to him. He was ridiculously ridiculous, and he did not understand why the young man is so awkward. Huenin did not approve of the girl's actions. The unexpected visitor was getting closer to the Heavenly Destroyer every second. The guy stopped her actions, easily grabbing her face and asking him to come back sooner so that she did not have trouble. The girl began to cry and seemed that she did not like the young master. The young man assured that it was not at all. He does not even fit her because she has no title and recently arrived in Murray. The Heavenly Destroyer thanked that the girl showed frankness and tried to settle the situation. The guest was still upset, but decided not to insist and listened to the boy's request to go to his room. Finally, she noted that she would not give up feelings to the boy. This again caused the Heavenly Destroyer. The demon said that the hero could afford to have fun with the girl, and Huenin praised the young man for restraint. The Heavenly Destroyer got out of bed, so the demon was going to the girl in the room. But in fact, the guy decided to take a walk in the open air and relax a little from recent events. When he went out into the yard, he flew into the air. The Heavenly Demon praised the flight technique. It turned out that the guy went somewhere to meet some. This idea came to him after sleeping with his grandfather. The young man flew to the imperial tomb near which the monument of the deceased ruler stood. He went here to meet with the vagrants whose headquarters were nearby, as he was told by the elders. No one had to look for. Several people had already surrounded the heavenly destroyer and put 2 knives on his neck. The elders said that the vagrant status can be determined by the number of nodes on the belt. The guy saw that one of them was 2. It meant that he was new. The vagrant with a bandage in the eye asked who he was and for what purpose. The young man introduced himself to Ven Yun and asked to meet with Punchonho, the leader of the group. When the vagrants heard who came to them, they bounced from the boy a couple of meters. A man with a band called a young man a heavenly jade warrior, but such a nickname Ven Yun heard for the first time. The vagrants clarified whether he had a fight with the Association of Northern Blades last day. The guy was convinced of the truthfulness of the words of the elders, that these robbers knew about everything that is happening in the city. The robbers led the heavenly destroyer to the receiving hall of a building. Another man approached the young man and asked for rudeness during the meeting. Ven Yun replied that he was not offended, but he noted that this vagrant had 3 knots on his belt. This meant that it was quite capable. The man wanted to find out why the guy wanted to meet the leader of their group. The heavenly destroyer got a golden token from the kimono and asked him to show him Punchonho. Then he should understand the purpose of the meeting. The robber wanted to leave, but the young man stopped the question of why he was immediately listened to and fulfilled the request. The man said that their grouping was at odds with the association, so they will gladly help a man who won and disgraced them. He added that although he does not know what their leader will be able to help the young master, but they wonder what the guy the goal has. The man worshipped and assured that their help would not require any debt from Ven Yun. After looking at the headquarters, the guy realized that they could not be underestimated because the room was well furnished, which resonated with the appearance of men. He decided not to treat them proudly and not to perceive ordinary scum. Suddenly, a gray man surrounded by clubs of dust appeared at the table at which the heavenly destroyer sat. There were many nodes on his belt, and in his hand he kept the imperial token. Specifying that it was this guy who brought the golden badge, the old man bowed to him and said that he was greatly honored to meet the emperor. Still not lifting his head, he apologized to the infidelity of Ven Yun. The man turned out to be the same head of Wataga. He promised to sacrifice his life if the fate of the new emperor would be at stake. The guy realized the words of his grandfather from sleep when he assured that his grandson would no longer be a recluse, and thought that the deceased relative wanted to send him to this group Vagotsug. Punchonho wondered how Huan No and Huej No live now, but the young man had long left them, so he could not answer. The man noted that he could talk to him informally, but Ven Yun replied that he would be so uncomfortable, especially he was no longer an emperor. Punchonho said that although almost no one in the city knows who the emperor's heir, they can quickly find warriors who could help bring the boy back to power. The young man said it was not interesting to him. In addition, he does not want to arrange a slaughter between potential heirs. When the old man asked the boy about his plans, the heavenly destroyer introduced him to the idea of becoming Emperor Murim. The young man imagined that the city's sex would not be able to repel if you get a large, strong army. He wanted to arrange a blood revolution, subordinating first the most promising combat organizations of the city. Punchonho said that the vagrants were not associated with orthodox sects. They maintained neutrality so as not to lose their independence. The old man guarantees that all the vagrants will obey him if needed, although they live in different parts of Marima. He promised that his people would fulfill any desire for a young emperor, whatever it was worth it. After these words, Ven Yun realized how much his grandfather was able to find the faithful subjects. Even what could seem a stupid idea of a teenager, Punchonho agreed. The guy said he didn't need these sacrifices because in fact it was just a joke. The old man was frightened that he had somehow offended the young man, but he assured that it was not. On the contrary, the words of the head gave him confidence. The guy said that he did not need help, but if he was needed, he would definitely turn to them. Punchonho heard that Ven Yun has ancient Shaolin technicians and decided to find out how he learned them. The guy said the explanation would take a long time, so he asked to ask about it in the brothers. He wondered if the old man would come to the Orthodox sect feast. The man replied that he didn't plan, only his students had to go. But if Ven Yun goes, then he will look. The young man wanted to say goodbye, but Pun Chonho stopped him, offering something to show. The old man touched the stone wall in a certain place, after which it moved. The secret passage to a large room with blades opened. They were everywhere. They hung on the walls and hung from the ceiling. Even the heavenly demon fascinated them. The old man explained that these weapons have been stored here since the ancient Han dynasty. Pun Chonho brought the guy to the corner, which stored 2 swords, which were very different against the background of others. It turned out that these swords once inherited Grandpa Ven Yun, and the head of the vagrant retained them to pass on to the next emperor when the time came. The spirits began to discuss the swords. The heavenly demon was delighted with them, and Huinen had a strange feeling. Pun Chonho asked only one, the one that falls to the heart. The heavenly demon began to shout to take the guy to take black and Huinen to white. Ven Yun decided to cheat a little and ask if you could take 2 swords at once. The old man was not mind because still these weapons belonged to the emperor's heir. Both spirits perceived such a guy's request for a bluish and greedy act. The guy, somewhat annoyed from their behavior, asked Pun Chonho, "What is the origin of these interesting swords?" The old man told that the black sword belonged to the heavenly demon, and the white sword was called the Sword of the Spirit. The purple essence that she wanted the young man to choose a black sword, because he was a wonderfully familiar. About the white sword of Pun Chonho said that he was created by one famous master from the historical period, when many wars took place between the kingdoms. Another name for the weapon is the Emperor's Sword. With a new equipment, the guy returned to the hotel to new acquaintances who immediately asked where he was. The guy replied that he went for a walk, but the question did not end because the company noticed the swords. The heavenly destroyer did not want to tell the truth, so he said that he was accidentally put on them and they cost almost nothing. Namgun Hyomi did not believe it at all. It seemed to her that the blades were rare and value. Fen Chonhu shouted Namgun Hyok Ryan that they were already in a feast to go to be late. Namgun Hyok Ryan suggested that Ven Yun to go with them and said that a well-known wizard of Zeugen technique should come to the west. So, they went to a feast with the whole group. It turned out that everyone already knows that Ven Yun received the name of the Celestial Jade Dragon. Namgun Hyok Ryan said that the whole city is actively discussing the identity of the new martial arts master. He suggested that the guy's feast did not avoid attention. The young man became no. He called himself just an amateur. Namgun Aeon said in love with him that it was not true. The guy did not like her sympathy very much. The company came to a multi-story, fascinating building where the feast will take place. The Northern Blades are very different from other alliances and layers of martial arts. They have a large number of perfectly trained warriors. At the head of their association are 3 elders who control swordsmen with different combat art profiles. Union members are more than 5,000. A stronger organization can be called a vagrant. Namgun Hyuk Ryan explained that demonic and blood swordsmen are the most dangerous. Ven Yun noted that even on their names, it becomes clear that it is better not to assume with them. The member of the league added that these swordsmen were previously killers and robbers, but great efforts of the Northern Kupni managed to persuade them to join them. However, the demonic and bloody swordsmen have not changed many of their principles, so the League of 5 Clans and the Union of Southern Blades have a very tense relationship with the Northern Blades. Ven Yun expressed the opinion that the affiliation of the former robbers to the official organization seems illogical. After the guy's charming, one of the group told the rumors that its construction cost 100,000 gold. To the surprise of the young man, Namgun Hyuk Ryan replied that the organization earns through the transportation of goods. However, there are still extraneous earnings in the form of a visiting yard, training pavilions and competitions. Previously, they also earned with magic, but this source of income was replaced by robbery. A black horse swept nearby with crazy speed and loud sound. The person who was on him shouted to make people free the road. Dust lifted around the horse. Ven Yun decided to do something with it and became directly opposite the animal. The members of the group wanted to stop the guy. It was too dangerous for him. Even the heavenly demon began to panic and worry that the horse was now catching a young man. Realizing that some man blocked the path, the rider seems to have ordered the animal to jump. She did it so high that the guy managed to bypass. After that, the rider on the horse jumped further until shocked people looked after them. The group, along with the heavenly demon, began to make fun of a guy who failed to sway. Ven Yun is surprised that they met such a skilled rider in a city where riding is not popular at all. Even in the Imperial Army, it would be difficult to find such craftsmen. Ven Yun thought about the appearance of the rider, and although he was disguised, the guy assumed that he was a girl. Namgun Ayan got tired of standing in a big queue. The brother asked her not to get married and learn to wait. Ven Yun said you could not learn. He noticed someone in the crowd and began to call him happily. It turned out that the guy turned to Yu Hyan Chan, who was not satisfied with the meeting. He didn't think he would meet this group at a banquet. The captain quickly approached the young man and pulled his smile, with artificial joy greeting the company. Ven Yun asked a man to take advantage of his connections and make a group of young people miss without a queue. The captain had nothing left to agree to fulfill the request. He asked them to follow him. Wu Hyan-chan spent the company to the luxurious free-flow pavilion and suggested waiting here. 2 members of the Northern Blades stood near the building and discussed Ven Yun. It seemed impossible for them that such a young boy had coped with a group of their people. The leader of the association intervened in the conversation. Because of his sudden appearance, the man was scared well. He said that half of the group was injured in the fight. After this shame, and in the addition of the battle with the heavenly destroyer, Northern Blades lost the respect of the locals. The association leader asked the men to secretly deliver him a boy to take revenge. Ven Yun paid attention to the great crowd and thought about so many people supported the Orthodox sect. So Chanak military advisor made a speech to the feast. He said that this event had good reasons. Their urgent goal is to destroy anyone who can threaten the well, being of the Northern Blades. To do this, they seek to attract young, talented warriors. The advisor suggested that they attack the demonic sect in the near future until they gain strength. Ven Yun realized that Orthodox had arranged such a large-scale event to turn to their side of people from different sects. Judging by the supporting screams of guests, they came out. Namgun Hyuk Ryan explained the guy that this projection is only formality. Many sects already support the Northern Blades. No one risks expressing dissatisfaction. But the behavior of the main Orthodox sects is still difficult to predict. The advisor asked the warriors to think seriously about his words. The audience of the hall began to react rapidly, encouraging from the idea of destroying fans of a demonic path. The heavenly demon noted that it is more like a performance. The people who shout the loudest belong to the Northern Blades and incite others. An old man in a red-yellow kimono came to the stage. Men bowed to each other. Ven Yun noticed that the mood of the crowd has changed dramatically. People stopped shouting. Namgun Hyuk Ryan explained the guy that the old man's name is Chigon and he is a rector Shaolin. The heavenly demon noted that he was a colleague Huijnen. Ven Yun thought that if the old man is Shaolin's rector, his views should be radically different from the orthodox. Chigon began to talk to people. He listened carefully to the advisor's speech but didn't agree with his opinion. The old man expressed confidence that the Association of Northern Blades was fully committed to Murim, but their ideas are unreasonable. The abbot believes that it is impossible to destroy the sects of demonic path. It will damage the balance and ruin peace in the city. Even when the authorities belonged to the celestial demon and were difficult times, no one tried to destroy the adherents of the demonic path. It was thanks to patience that peace has come and continued for a long time. Chigon expressed the hope that such smart warriors as members of the Northern Blade Association would not make mistakes. The old man finished his speech by expressing an open protest against the advisor's proposal. Namgun Hyuk Ryan was shocked that the abbot was not afraid to publicly show his views. Huijnen was proud that Shaolin is still unbreakable. The heavenly demon is also advice, but in its own way. Ven Yun asked a demon if he was really the leader of all Murima. The essence began to sway that she had a bunch of followers. Even now, they are well remembered. The demon proposed to introduce the young man to his followers. He was referring to the heavenly demon school. Ven Yun called a demon by an idiot because that school no longer exists, and all the natives of it are dead. Namgun Hyuk Ryan didn't think that someone but the League of 5 Clans would disagree the association. But now there is a chance that the Southern Blades will support the abbot. Ven Yun suggested that since the relationship between the organizers of the event and the Southern Blades is bad, it can really happen. The guy asked what would be. Namgun Hyok Ryan explained that in this case, the leaders of the clans would meet. The decision may be influenced by the fact that 3 of the 4 largest sects do not want to destroy the supporters of the demonic pack. The leader of one of the Fenho League clans confirmed the words Namgun Hyok Ryan without supporting the proposal of the Northern Blades. It is necessary to hear the opinion of Southern Blades. If they agree with other sects that have expressed their disagreement, the attack on the members of the demonic sects will be considered unfounded. If it occurs in such conditions, the Northern Blades can completely lose their influence in Murama. By the way, Kuryan Jin, the elder Southern Blades, was invited. He disagreed So Chon-ak's proposals. In fact, they agreed with the advisor that the Southern Blades would support the Northern. Kuryan Jin complimented that he had said his opinion, but it is different from the views of his union. They support the idea of Northern Blades. The audience began to triumph that the Northern and Southern agreed today. So Chon-ak was contemptuous of the Southern Blades, thinking that in their opinion you can influence if you press. Ven Yun and Namgun Hyok Ryan were amazed at how the elder could be against, and the union itself supports the idea of the association. Namgun Hyok Ryan said he could not imagine how, after past speeches from other sects, the Southern Blades could do so. Namgun Hyo Mi noticed that while So Chon-ak stands with a bad smile, Kuryan Jin looks very upset. A group of young people was already going back to the hotel. Ven Yun and Namgun Hyok Ryan continued to talk about what was happening at the feast. The guest of the city was questioned by a member of the league whether or not it would end there. Ven Yun was amazed at how the Union of Southern Blades could agree to the proposal of the association with which he was at odds with, especially when their choice weighed so much. Namgun Hyok Ryan laughed at the young man's words, saying that Murama was not so easy in Murama. The demon also began to laugh from the heavenly destroyer, calling him naive. The spirit thought that the guy began to realize that there were strong and weak. The former win, and the latter die. The demon decided to make the heavenly destroyer the heir of his school, passing on his own knowledge. The purple spirit began to laugh evil, so Huinan suggested that he had some wicked thoughts again. Ven Yun noted that the opinions of the strongest organizations shared equally. He asked what they would do with it. Namgun Hyok Ryan said there would be a vote in the evening. It will all depend on its results. 3 men in white kimono approached the company. One of them asked who was the Heavenly Jade Dragon. When the guy responded, realizing that before him the members of the Association of Northern Blades, the man reported that they wanted to meet their leader and asked him to go with him. Fuin Shanhu intervened in the conversation, noting that it is very impolite to call for himself without even reporting the cause. Orthodox replied scornfully that his opinion was absolutely irrelevant compared to the order of their master. Fen Shanhu was angry and almost started a fight, but Ven Yun stopped him and tried to reassure him. The young master suggested that he was not particularly choosing because the clan collection soon. A member of the association asked the boy to filter what he was saying and suggested that he did not even realize the chance they gave him. Suddenly, Chi-gon approached, apologizing for the intervention and saying that he could not afford to pass. He wanted to get acquainted with a guy who inherited Huinan's knowledge. The old man called him a spiritual teacher of present rector. Namgun Hyok Ryan thought he could still understand it. Ven Yun can take a higher place in Shaolin's hierarchy. The abbot continued to speak. Since the guy used inherited skills for personal benefits and glory, it is considered an insult for the rector. They should take some measures. Huinan did not expect that the old man would be so pressed on the heavenly destroyer. The young man decided to use the power to show his abbot abilities. The wind came around him and a flame appeared. The old man did not scare it, but now he was too busy to spend time talking to Ven Yun. He asked him to come to the temple later, where he would be tested. The guy agreed and bowed respectfully. Chi-gon did the same in response and went on business. Members of the Association of Northern Blades, who watched the conversation, were shocked that the guy could get the highest status among Shaolin's rector. Thanks to the old company, the company managed to avoid conflict with those men. They continued their journey to the hotel. Namgun Hyok Ryan asked not to underestimate the leader of the Northern Blade and be careful. Ven Yun thought that many people with dubious moral principles in power, but it all depends on how to perceive them. So the guy did not hate his uncle. He compared his actions to the law of nature, where the strong ones are killed by the weak. Ven Yun was weak then, so Yun Van took his place. The young man realized that his uncle was not stupid or too cruel, otherwise he would not last long on the throne. 3 personalities lived inside the guy: a young emperor, a destroyer of heaven, and a heavenly jade dragon. They existed in harmony, had the same impact. In Murima, on the contrary, there was practically anarchy, which something had to be done with, otherwise there could be many casualties. Huizhen expressed the opinion that everything decides the universe, but he gave the power Ven Yun. He may be able to establish peace and promote the quiet life of the locals, returning the balance that has already created in his soul. Ven Yun was lying in the open air near the pavilion and waiting for the voting results. Someone swept past him, then jumped on the next roof and more. The young man decided that this person has a very difficult technique of movement. Ven Yun decided to find out who it was, so he rushed into the pursuit, using his own nothing skills. The secret man moved between the shadows. It was impossible to see him. The young man concluded that he was even stronger than Wu Haiyan-chan. They approached the pavilion of the Divine Sword, where the banquet recently passed. It is located in the heart of the territory subordinate to the Association of Northern Blades. In Murima, only 2 people could have shook the title of Divine Sword. The first is the leader of the League of 5 Clans, Namgun Hvi. The second of them is the head of the Association of the Northern Blades, Doku Han-chan, which incidentally had a 9-story pavilion. He is the youngest of the leaders of the strongest orthodox sects, but has managed to get a prestigious nickname, Emperor of Swords. His success can be explained by the fact that his father, who was once the leader of the association, was also considered a very strong warrior. The former leader disappeared after passing his son's management. Some say he teaches his grandson, Doku Mu. The person pursued by Ven Yun penetrated the hot water pavilion. It was a small but pretty building. There were dozens of guards near the pavilion. Ven Yun decided that a very important person is inside, or a serious criminal. The guy was curious to find out who was so closely guarded. It was risky. If he is caught, they will think that he is a thief. The young man asked the heavenly demon whether he had techniques that can help you get to the pavilion unnoticed. The spirit replied that Ven Yun was now using it. The guy did not know that the technique of the steepness of the heavenly demon would save him from the attention of strong warriors. The demon asked not to diminish its strength and concentrate to use the most internal energy. The young man tried to listen to his words. He was surrounded by red essence. The guy ran past the guard. He only noticed a light breeze, but he suspected almost nothing. Ven Yun was already inside and noticed the masked person he was chasing. She was looking for something. Suddenly a girl appeared in the room. As a clothing on it was only a white towel. She turned to her husband, calling him Huan Sa, and asking how everything went. Van Sa turned out to be a girl. She turned to a half, naked as a lady. The news was probably not very positive, because the masked girl began to pull with the answer. The lady asked her to say everything, as was. Huan Sa followed someone and reported that he was terrible and bloodthirsty, using the girls in love with him. People from neighboring settlements complain about him. According to a girl wrapped in a towel, it became clear that they were talking about the younger leader of the Southern Blades. Van Sa asked what the lady is thinking now. It turned out that the man was her fiancé. The girl believes that there is no difference whether to marry it without consent or just sell. Ven Yun realized that the bride of the enslavement was the daughter of the leader of the Association of Northern Blades. It was the treaty on this union that influenced the Southern Blades agreed on the proposal of Southern Blades at a banquet. It was difficult for the young man to understand the association leader, who was ready to marry his daughter for some scum through personal ambitions. Van Sa told her lady that she would not do so, even for his father or her clan. Doku Han-chan's daughter was a little revived and asked for Huan Sa whether she was ready to help her escape. The girl bowed and promised that she would always help her because she was her duty. The lady thanked her and asked her to leave her alone. The girl had to think about everything. When she remained alone, she sat on a chair and wept bitterly. This puzzled Ven Yun, but he understood the girl's feelings, because he himself experienced something like that. The guy remembered his past when he lived the way he was told, changing nothing. But it made him deeply unhappy. He often cried. But the boy was helped by his grandfather's friends, the elders from the Taishan mountain, pulling him out of the depressed state. Ven Yun wondered what could help the girl, as he had the experience. Meanwhile, she sadly saddled that her older brother was not around. The young man dared to appear to her and slowly approached the girl to reassure. The lady began to shout and ask who he was. Ven Yun used one of his techniques. As a result, the girl closed her lips. She could not temporarily say anything. The young man bowed and assured that he would not hurt her. He called his name and honestly told that he got here because he followed one person. Ven Yun said that although accidentally found himself and heard the conversation, but now he wants to help. He promised to return the girl the opportunity to speak, provided that she would not scream. So, the young man removed the magic from her, after which she immediately clapped a ringing slap. The girl wanted to hit the stranger again, but he managed to evade this time. She was evil on Ven Yun. He apologized and tried to convince that he was not intended to do something bad. The guy reported that the girl's belt was unleashed, causing him to expose her a little. The lady turned away to adjust the appearance. She asked Ven Yun through her back. The guy could not give a specific answer to this, so he wondered what the girl would like. He guaranteed that he could fulfill any request. The girl doubted that someone was ready to help strangers. She thought that he could not be a regular robber, otherwise he could not get into the pavilion. But it was difficult for her to trust so easy. The girl began to laugh because a few minutes ago she dreamed that there would be something that would make her position. But she could not hope that a guy would penetrate her, promising to help her. First, you need to somehow check if Ven Yun really has intentions that he says. She called Doku Solan, bowed to the young man, and gave a word that he would be grateful to him if he could get her out of the territory controlled by the Northern Blade Association. The guy suggested going immediately and asked the girl to dress in something more comfortable for the road. Doku Solan still had some things, so they agreed to meet a day. At the same time, Namguna Yan visited the Ven Yun room at the hotel, but did not find it there. She searched in other places, but she did not find a guy anywhere. The girl ran to her older brother and informed him that Ven Yun disappeared. Namgun Hyuk Ryan was angry that he did not notice it himself. He thought that the young man could steal the northern blades because they just did not retreat. The guy reported his group that Ven Yun could now be in danger. In addition, he hurried to tell the leader of the League 5 clans, Namgun HVI. The news has already reached Shai Gon. He expected that the northern blades would operate openly and abduct the guy. But the old man is convinced that none of the association will be able to damage the heir Huainan. When asked by a subordinate Shai Gon, he replied that there was no point in reacting. While the league leader was discussing a situation with a group of young martyrs of martial arts, they were announced by an angry Pun Chonho. The King quickly entered and asked him to tell him everything he knows. The leader of the Northern Blades, Doku Han Chan, who, along with several accomplices, was already at the hotel with the members of the League of 5 clans, was very surprised that Pun Chonho was declared to the city. King and the former association head were good friends. After the sleeping dragon disappeared, Pun Chonho did not go to people. So Chon-ak, the association advisor, was not thought to be strange that the vagrant had come without greetings. He could be said to have the right because he was one of Muram's oldest warriors. Doku Han-chan reported that members of the association are now actively searching for the city. Pun Chonho made a claim that the territory is small. One person is quite difficult if you make an effort. The vagrant threatened that if the boy was not found, he would be attacked on the northern blades of all his warriors. Doku Han-chan wondered that Shai Gon, unlike others, was very calm and drank tea peacefully. He thought that the relationship with the monks of Shaolin could be even more deteriorated, if not finding a guy who inherited the forces of the ancient abbot. And the behavior of the elder Southern Blades Ku Ryan Jin seemed too superior to the leader of the association. Ven Yun has already left the hot water pavilion and was relaxed to the hotel. The heavenly demon is dissatisfied that the guy will really help strangers. The spirit could justify such intentions only in love. The demon suspects Doku Solan because she easily agreed to the help from the guy she first saw. Ven Yun said that she had had little rescue options, so he didn't think she had stirred him. The heavenly demon became even more and shouted for the young man to forget about that girl. But Ven Yun was already in his words. The spirit was angry that he wanted to help the guy become a famous warrior and conquer the whole world, and instead of gratitude, he is engaged in some fool. Ven Yun noticed members of the Association of Northern Blades who fussed and hurried somewhere. He asked one of them what was happening. The man replied that they were looking for one important person who may have been abducted. For this purpose, they gathered the leaders of the strongest organizations. The guy stitched his face when he was told that this man was called a Jade Dragon. Doku Hanchan and Namgun Hvi began to quarrel because the Northern Blades have not yet found a young man. The League leader was convinced that the association was involved in disappearance because it was abducted in their territory, and before that, they had conflicts with the young man. Many people were on the verge. Pun Chonho could not stand and offered a fight instead of quarrels. The tense situation was rescued by Ven Yun, who innocently wondered what had happened. The King was very happy when he saw him and bowed to his feet, puzzling the young man. At the same time, Pun Chonho called him a young emperor who alarmed the leaders of the most powerful organizations. Doku Hanchan was hard to accept that one of the most respected people Marima kneel before this young man. Ven Yun whispered to the old man to correct the situation, and no one learned that the guy came from the imperial family. Pun Chonho began to joke that he was so happy that the young man returned alive and unharmed that he accidentally called him a young emperor, while addressing the boy as a young master. Ven Yun said that everyone could say something wrong, just the king of the vagrant is well treated. Those who watched this scene were somewhat doubted that Pun Chonho could have been so strange. The young man worshipped and apologized that he had forced the great masters and almost not spoiled the reputation of the leader of the Association of Northern Blades. Doku Hanchan said he did not keep evil and suggested forgetting about everything and sitting at everyone at the table. Others agreed. They were covered with appetizing dishes, but no one wanted to eat. An awkward panel came. Despite the fact that Doku Hanchan did not show it out, he was now very interested in Ven Yun. The man is convinced that he has secrets, and he promised to find out everything. The desk at the table became more friendly, but Namgun Hyok Ryan felt uncomfortable having dinner with such influential people. Ven Yun was also difficult, and he was offered a place at the head of the table. The young man felt that everyone was looking at him. He knew that leaders would like to ask him many questions. Namgun Hvi asked his son about his impression of Ven Yun's martial arts. Namgun Hyok Ryan said that he was passionate about the view because the guy used the techniques of Shaolin's abbot. Ven Yun said it was not necessary to be sure of his abilities, since Choi Gan has not yet checked them. Pun Chonho asked if the young man was planning to become an elder Shaolin when his inherited skills would formally confirm. Despite the Ven Yun protest attempt, Choi Gan said Huinen was one of Murim's founders, so his follower has a good right to get a good position. This would help the guy gain recognition as titles play an important role. Namgun Hvi summed up that Ven Yun would become one of the most respected people in Marima. The guy denied these words because he only recently came here, and in fact only a beginner in martial arts. The origin of the guy could not stop worrying the leader of the Association of Northern Blades. Shaolin has a great impact in Marima. It is actually the foundation for all orthodox sects. King also has power in the city. He is conquered by spies and a large number of strong soldiers. Doku Hanchan was glad that he did not have time to harm Ven Yun before he learned that Pun Chonho and Shigan support him. The help of these old ones is needed to gain power over Murim. The leader of the Northern Blades realized that he would have to get the most to Ven Yun as possible to treat him well. The man regretted that he had no second daughter to marry a young man. The results of the vote became known. 70% supported the proposal of the Association of Northern Blades. The opponents of their idea could not convincingly argue their opinion. Doku Hanchan got the desired. So, for the first time in the millennium that exists Muri, orthodox sects declared war with a demonic war. Ven Yun asked the heavenly demon to teach him to use the sword that he once belonged to him. The spirit was gladly agreed, because it will give him the opportunity to sway with his skill. The demon ordered the guy to lift the sword into the air. It was easy. He then asked to rinse the weapon as far as it turned out. The sword flew, followed by a bright red trace of strength. The heavenly demon screamed to turn the sword back, but it was difficult for the guy to set up so quickly and change the direction. The sword twisted and then crashed into the bamboo stem and as a result stuck in it. The demon began to flood laughter. Under the control of Ven Yun, the sword could not even cut the plant, but in the hands of a real master, he can handle the hardest stone. The spirit explained that the boy had not had the strength because he launched a weapon too far. He compared Ven Yun's actions with ordinary fencing, although the young man did not understand why it was bad. The heavenly demon got into the role of the mentor and began to ask that the guy knew about this sword at all. The spirit explained that the power of the sword is directly related to the internal energy of the one who uses it. When the inner force becomes greater, it will be easy. Ven Yun expressed the opinion that this system is too complicated, not understanding why it is possible to connect the sword with internal energy. The heavenly demon said that it is not easy, just need to gradually master the weapon. The guy tried to strike at a mild level and there were no problems. The sword obeyed him well. The spirit was in no hurry to rejoice because it was a slight task. He asked to release internal energy and create a storm swords. The guy calmed down and listened to himself. He came out to form a whirlwind of red energy. The heavenly demon was shocked that the young man on the first attempt mastered the hardened equipment for his internal forces. After the workout, Ven Yun sprouted on green grass from fatigue and asked in the spirit what his rank now. The demon said that the guy had jumping several levels and found himself in the category of nature sword. Ven Yun wondered that this rank could use the power of nature to increase the sword. These weapons can turn the usual rain into deadly. Thanks to this, one person can destroy the whole army. Any natural phenomenon can be used in your favor. For example, lightning. The heavenly demon wanted to explain the next level of possession of the sword, but it is difficult for him to do it. Ven Yun was striking that there is a level higher than this because the power of the sword of nature is extremely high. The spirit said that there was also a space sword, but asked the boy for some time to forget about him because if he used his techniques in battle, they would be interested in him. The heavenly demon was not about the inhabitants of Marima, about someone else, more dangerous. The young man invited the leader of the Northern Blades for lunch. He plans to use this invitation to find out the information you need. Doku Han-chan met the boy with respect and invited to the table. Ven Yun said that it was not necessary to turn so respectful. The association leader decided to show maximum hospitality. He suggested that the guy stay in his organization. Even the option was to build a personal pavilion for Ven Yun. The young man realized that it was not ordinary courtesy. He refused and said that nothing needed to build for him. You can settle in a blank pavilion. Doku Han-chan asked if this would be enough. In fact, he did not want to liberate a building through Ven Yun. The young man replied that it was a joke. It said orthodox even more, but he hidden it. The maid brought them food. Ven Yun was amazed by its quantity and diversity. Although he was the heir to the imperial throne and was well fed, he did not recognize many ingredients. The food proved how rich in the Northern Blades. Doku Han-chan assured that his chefs are delicious, even better than imperial ones. The young man was already sick of artificial courtesy. He decided to move to more serious conversations and asked about the destruction of demonic sects. Doku Han-chan said it was the final solution. All orthodox sects should now support the Northern Blades. Ven Yun wondered how orthodoxy was planning to win. He expressed some doubts. The association leader said that the first step is to gather all allies and create the Alliance of Marima. He calculated that it would take a year. Orthodoxy will then go to actions, but it will take even more time, as members of the demonic sects have many secret sections. The plans after the victory of Doku Han-chan spoke quite vague, like they will decide it then. He hoped that the unification of orthodoxy would not break up to control the situation in Marima. Ven Yun was convinced that this would not be done for order in the city, but for personal gain. Doku Han-chan told about local rumors. It seems like a person who has the techniques of a celestial demon. Ven Yun and the purple essence were confused that people were already gossiping about it. Doku Han-chan said there is a lot of reflections on Heavenly Demon, but there is almost no evidence. But the military technique of that master is fully corresponding to the demonic. The Northern Blade leader suggested that the boy join his soldiers because he is very talented and the army lacks young, promising fighters. Despite the proposal to become an influential person in the army, Ven Yun did not want to turn into a pawn. He replied that he did not consider himself worthy of such a position, but would definitely think about it. Doku Han-chan realized that the guy failed to recruit it, but he had another idea. The man asked to call his daughter. Ven Yun didn't understand that Doku Han-chan wanted to offer. Doku Solan greeted the guy, pretending to be unfamiliar. Doku Han-chan asked if the young man liked his daughter. He emphasized that he would not marry her. Ven Yun, realizing that a man is using his daughter as soon as he can, he replies that she is the most beautiful of all the women he saw in Murama. Doku Han-chan said that his daughter has been 19 years old. It was time to get married. And Ven Yun can become her husband. The young man again repeated that he was not worth it to offer him everything. But he agrees to marry if Doku Han-chan wants it. The association leader is glad that he has finally been able to negotiate with Ven Yun. Maybe now the guy will not interfere with his ambitions. Ven Yun thought that he was already waiting at the hotel, so he hurried to say goodbye to Doku Han-chan and his daughter. The girl was surprised to happen because she was already engaged to another. Her father said to forget about this situation and continue to prepare for the wedding that will take place next spring. Doku Solan never understood who would become her husband. Doku Han-chan said she would marry with whom he was planning with the son of the Southern Blade Leader. The girl wanted to ask something else, but her husband was drunk and rushed to get out of the room. In the evening, the streets were filled with locals. A holiday was planned in honor of the officially declared war with demonic sects. Ven Yun, with the help of the heavenly demon, was again striking into the hot water pavilion. There was a conversation inside. Van Sa asked her lady whether she was sure to escape with that guy in her decision. Doku Solan expressed the belief that everything would be fine. Ven Yun was not quite pleased that the girl had already told someone about their arrangement. The heavenly demon tried to persuade the boy to leave here, but he said he had to fulfill his promise. The girls began to worry because Ven Yun has not yet come. Van Sa suggested that he is afraid that the lady would start screaming. The guy did not like this thought. He came out and made a claim to Huan S.A., but the surprise was in a stand between Ven Yun and Doku Solan. The martial artsman did not understand how she could notice a guy who was so close. Ven Yun recognized her look, the same one he saw in a black horse rider who was able to jump. Van Sa now also recognized the guy and called him crazy because he rushed under his horse. Ven Yun called her in response, arguing it with her crazy tricks in the saddle. Van Sa removed what was masking her face. She said she could not trust her lady with a suspicious young man with incomprehensible goals and secret origin. The guy ignored her behavior that annoyed the girl and turned away from her. He turned to Doku Solna and asked if she was ready to go. The girl asked to wait a minute. Doku Solan barely attracted an important bag of clothing and accessories. Ven Yun said they would not be able to take these things. The girl did not argue. Van Sa again pulled the mask and looked as if she were about to flee with them. Ven Yun asked if it really was. He didn't like this girl, so he hoped that he would not have to travel with her. Van Sa replied that she would go with them, of course. Doku Solan explained that she is the closest person to her. She can't leave her. Ven Yun reluctantly agreed, but asked the masked girl to listen to him and be careful. Van Sa assured that she didn't need a nanny. She can take care of herself, but about Ven Yun doubts. The girl suspected that the boy would be trouble. He exactly has some secret abilities, otherwise he couldn't go unnoticed. Van Sa asked how the guy plans to get them out of here. It will be difficult to pass by security. It turned out that Ven Yun did not think about it before. He asked Doku Solan to approach him and looked into her eyes. The young man asked the heavenly demon whether he would be able to carry out his plan. He replied that he would come out very quickly. Ven Yun asked girls to pay maximum attention to what he would say. Van Sa Basilo that the guy turns to Doku Solan right by his name, without taking into account her status. The Ven Yun plan was to change the face of Doku Solan. These words were extremely surprised by the girls. Then the guy invites them to get out of the building. And when they find themselves in a safe place far from the guards, Ven Yun will take Doku Solan. Now it is enough for the escape, as most of the soldiers are in the part of the city where the celebration is held. Doku Solan worried how the guy was going to change her face. Moreover, she liked her appearance and she would not want another. Ven Yun assured that the real face would return immediately when the danger would pass. Van Sa suspected that the young man is going to use metamorphosis technique. He confirmed this guess. The guy asked to call one of the maids, who often came to the eyes of the guards. Ven Yun has promised to demonstrate that she was able to use the technique of changing the face. Van Sa brought a girl named Jim N that had to be awakened. The maids were ordered just a couple of seconds. Ven Yun hid with his forces so that he did not have to answer unnecessary questions. When the young man looked at the girl's face enough, he thought about it Juan S.A. The maid was sent back, and Ven Yun sat opposite Doku Solan and lifted his palm to her cheek. The guy's hands began to produce red energy flows that headed to the girl's face. It took a few seconds and Doku Solan could not be distinguished from Jim En. The young man boasted his work before Juan S.A. and asked the girls to go outside. So, they headed the corridor. Van Sa was worried about Doku Solan after transformation, but everything was normal. The gentleman laughed at the fact that her father made an agreement with Ven Yun. He knows how to get what he wants. And now Doku Solan recruited a young man. The girl was all the same to be entrusted. The main thing is to be away from the Association of Northern Blades. They already went outside, but they were stopped by 2 guards. They wondered why the maids came out of the building. Van Sa didn't want a ceremony with them. She asked to free up the road because they were ordering the lady. The guards reported that there was now a curfew. Van Sa said she understands this, but you can't see the lady. The guard reported that they allow them to pass. It was just appropriate to remind the rules. One of the warriors noticed that the Jim En figure had changed slightly, but the other asked not to be distracted from work. Ven Yun watched the girls and reported in which direction to go. He ordered to turn the tree. Ven Yun, as always, appeared unexpectedly. He picked up Doku Solan and asked Juan Sa to follow him. The guy flew high into the air with the lady. Van Sa was shocked, but forced herself not to focus on it because they were still in a dangerous place. Doku Solan mentally noted that Ven Yun has a pleasant smell. The guy asked where the girl wanted to be. He suggested that you go to the Volotsug. Doku Solan remembered that the young man had a good relationship with their king, so she agreed. It should be safe. They stopped near the Imperial Tomb, creating an explosion of white energy. In addition, a small crater remained on the site of their landing. Van Sa came a little later, glowing. Ven Yun was dissatisfied that she had detained them. Now the guy had to go back to the Northern Blade Feast to secure alibi. He asked the girls, told the vagina that they were friends of Heavenly Jade Dragon, and he promised not to linger in the west of the association. Ven Yun flew into the air again, and the girls had to observe only fascinated. The young man was intrigued by Doku Han Chan, who had to know his daughter soon. The guy was met drunk Namgun Hyuk Ryan and Fen Chan Hu. They wondered where he disappeared again, but their condition did not allow them to get hung up on it. Ven Yun began to drink with everyone so that no one had a doubt that he was present at the banquet. Namgun Ayan wandered next to him. Fon Shan Hu began to laugh with the fact that Ven Yun can do everything, drink, and good fight. He confessed that at first he hated him because he was so unique, possessed exceptional techniques. And now on a drunken head, the guy began to praise the young martial arts master in every possible way. Ven Yun decided to say something too. Meeting with their company was the best event in Marima for him. Fon Shan Hu was felt, laid tears and climbing. Ven Yun was a little awkward, but at the same time it is nice. Namgun Hyuk Ryan asked if Ven Yun wanted the next day to go to the Clans League along with the group. The guy replied that he had other plans, but would surely come to them later. The young men raised a toast for their sincere friendship, and Ven Yun, the So Chonak military advisor, reported to the leader that the young lady had disappeared. The abduction is not a reason. Doku Han Chan was angry, and yet he did not believe that the girl escaped at will. The advisor explained that it was impossible to steal it because the pavilion was guarded by the best warriors. So Chonak also said that his people saw personal security guard Doku Solan and one of the maids who left the building at night. The maid was questioned. She was afraid that she did not leave the pavilion in the curfew. Doku Han Chan suggested that the maids had erased memory. The advisor also kept the opinion that metamorphosis technique was applied. He said the lady couldn't do it on her own. Kvan S.A. or someone else helped her. Doku Han Chan is convinced that the guard did not have such a technique, so some kind of person intervened. So Chan AK thinks that this one is most likely to belong to the status sect. But all the warriors were on the holiday and had fun. The leader of the Northern Blades ordered the advisor to do everything possible to find the guilty. Some people in the hood went to prison and asked the muscular security guard for the condition of the prisoner. It was answered that he was still alive. The prisoner was tortured to know something, but he did not give up. The guest asked his grandson. He said nothing too. I wanted to talk to a prisoner in the hood, so he asked him to take him. The slave was chained to the wall. Long hair closed his face. From the clothes, only some cloth instead of underwear. The man in the hood told a prisoner that his granddaughter had escaped. He called him with his grandson extremely hardy people. It became clear that the former head of the Northern Blades was prisoner. The prison guest asked if the old man knew the old man who could help the girl escape, in addition to her guardian who is unlikely to have ancient combat equipment. The prisoner called the man crazy and asked to leave him. The guest of the camera noted that his son is dead and his grandson can soon leave his life. Doku Solan, the last of its kind. Grandfather said it all depends on fate, and for a long time he has no difference. The person in the hood called him ruthless and rhetorically asked what a granddaughter would feel if she heard such an answer. The man spoke about the plans of orthodoxy to attack demonic sects and become known for many centuries forward. He said that the old man probably invented an absolute sword to survive, but in fact it never existed. The guest also said that when the old granddaughter was die, the place will be destroyed, and no one will ever know that they were held here. The man achieved the desired, aroused the prison emotion. The old man became angry and hardly called him. The guest was a prisoner for what he can call his son. It turned out the man in the hood, Doku Han-chan. The crowd of people gathered together and blocked the exit. Many raged that the Northern Blades did not release them in their business. The guards explained that the investigation was being investigated and asked to listen to their orders. No one explained to people what a reason is to detain them. All questions were ignored by the association. The Northern Blades were questioned by everyone, wondering where they were yesterday. The most attention was paid to warriors with high levels of martial arts. Ven Yun was no exception. He was dissatisfied with interrogations and responded reluctantly. The guard explained to him that if the guy has nothing to hide, then it is not difficult to spend a couple of minutes at all. Ven Yun said he didn't like how they talked to him. It seems to be guilty in advance. He reported that he would tell where he was. Only the head of the Association of Northern Blades. The guard who had previously tried to talk enough to talk could not stand and called the guy a brazen puppy. There was a threat of a fight. The heavenly demon hoped that the young man would not fight, but would run away from here. But Ven Yun had some plan. The guy was approached by the White Swordsman commander, Yon So Mu, and asked why he considers himself so important to call their leader. Ven Yun replied again that he would only talk to Doku Han-chan, with his husband's husband disdain. Yon So Mu was angry and swung with the sword, releasing white energy from it. Ven Yun easily evaded, pulled out his fist, and with the help of his strength lifted the man into the air for a couple of meters. The heavenly demon did not understand why the guy only used his hands and didn't get his sword. In addition, he did not harm the commander at all, just disgraced a little. The young man replied that he did not plan to harm these weak men who even did not cope with his little power. But he continued to attack the commander, hitting his foot in his face, resulting in a decent distance. Then the guy used other technique, backing the enemy in his head with a fist with orange energy. Yon So Mu was lying on the ground barely conscious. The strong won the weak. Ven Yun doubted whether a man worthy to be called the law of a celestial sword while he tried to get up. He did not work to do it. The man, clasping his teeth, stated pathetically that they would compete until one of them dies. Doku Han-chan unexpectedly appeared his own person and crushed the commander's neck. He apologized to the guy that his subordinate behaved so much. The association leader ordered the guy released. No one questioned him, but the cruelty shown by Doku Han-chan was disgusting with the young man. Ven Yun was already far from there. The heavenly demon noticed his gloomy mood and asked what it was. The guy merged through the leader of the Northern Blades. The man respected neither his daughter nor his people. The fact that such a person was considered one of the most powerful in Marima forced the young man to rage. The heavenly demon said that the power is not the one who is the best, but the one who is strong and cunning. The spirit suggested that Ven Yun was angry because he fell in love with Doku Han-chan's daughter, whom he did badly. The guy turned to Hyoinen and asked him to help improve his strength and increase the impact on people. The spirit of the abbot reminded that Ven Yun came to Muri for freedom, not by power. The young man said that he needed the influence to become free because it is difficult to do it alone. The demon said he had to prove his strength until he became the ruler. Creating a sect helped him greatly. The guy inspired the goal of becoming influential so that as few people as little people have a chance to interfere with him. The demon wondered how Ven Yun plans to achieve this and suggested that he wanted to ask for help in the League of Five Clans or go to Shaolin, as he was offered by the abbot. The young man said the spirit did not guess. He does not want to openly hostile to the association while it has such power, and the guy himself is objectively weaker in this regard. Ven Yun asked the heavenly demon whether the heavenly sect was still. He did not think about it before, but when he mentioned the name of the sect, the spirit had a strange reaction. The demon said that a sect existed in his leadership 1,700 years ago. The young man was shocked that he lived so long ago. The spirit said that he was convinced that the sect had no longer, but after the words Doku Han Chan, he has doubts. Ven Yun thought rumors about the heavenly demon sect appeared precisely because he possessed his techniques. The spirit said that sect member and student are different concepts, and his clan now exists only in the form of a city legend. However, if the sects no longer existed, rumors would hardly be so common and living. The spirit concluded that people believe in the followers of the heavenly demon, although he still has no confidence. Ven Yun wondered that the demon reflects on the existence of a sect only on the basis of rumors about it. The spirit said that if its members followed its rules, then it could remain, could still be extremely powerful. The young man got to the place where the sect was located earlier, but now the Rocky Mountains and around the crazy winds constantly. Ven Yun has doubts that a secret base may be hidden somewhere. The demon said that if not here, nowhere. The guy agreed to search. Initially, there was no signs of life in this cold, deserted place. At some point, he noticed some movement, but the snow prevented you from seeing what it was. Ven Yun guessed what could be done. Huainan immediately understood his idea, and the heavenly demon did not. The young man wanted to stir snow using his internal energy. He did it with his mouth. A lot of snow went into the air, but as a result, they did not see anything new at first. However, it became easier to navigate and consider the terrain. In a few minutes, the guy found a cave. Of course, Ven Yun went to explore it. The passage to the cave was very narrow, so the guy slowly moved it. He saw something like a tile under his feet. It argued that there were people here. The young man wandered a cave for several hours, but he did not find anything more. He raged and already wanted to get out of here. The heavenly demon stopped him. He noticed a stone that was portrayed. These were 3 masks, or the face of some monsters. The demon reported that it was a body symbol used by its followers. The image should have a mechanism to be activated. Ven Yun found him. The mechanism consisted of several keys that had to be pressed in a certain order. Fortunately, that the spirit knew him. Afterwards, they saw how the stairs opened, which led somewhere below. The place where they ended up was enchanting. There were many plants and waterfalls, and also the building where the light burned. Ven Yun realized that this place has several secret passages. The heavenly demon was proud of his followers. The guy heard that someone was going, so he quickly hid from the eyes of foreigners with the help of a demon technique. 2 girls passed by talking with each other. The girls were very similar in appearance, hairstyles, and clothing. Only color was different. They talked about some competition. A potential winner was discussed. According to the blue-eyed, it turned out that everything depended on Olha's demon. The girl in the pink just hoped that after the winner's announcement, they would be free. The blue-eyed said that if the bloody demon won, they would not be able to get into Chonvan. Ven Yun realized for himself that in the event of a victory, the demon would be released, and in the event of defeat, it would remain in the cave. The girls wanted to get rid of OK Rin sooner. They talked so emotionally about him that they were probably in love with him. Ven Yun did not know who was OK Rin, but suggested that he was some kind of popular person. The young man asked the heavenly demon whether the girls were similar to the sect members. He replied that his followers should look more threatening and have some beautiful weapons. The guy ran territory and paid attention to the building. He decided that she was pretty and wanted to go inside. It was very good there too, luxuriously equipped. The young man noticed a girl and a boy. The girl clarified the interlocutor if he would support the winner if it was not an Olha demon. She looked colorful and seductive. Ven Yun and the heavenly demon looked at her. The girl said that the demon of Olch from the North Palace wanted to seize power. The Eliuj family must protect them in this case. She thinks that the situation is still in favor of Ola's demon, so he will soon receive what he wants. The girl asked the boy to pass on his brother, a demon of the gloomy sky, that everything would happen according to the previous plan. Ven Yun didn't really understand what it was about, but he compared the organization of the demonic sect with the League of 5 Clans in Orthodox. The girl stopped the young master and asked his name. His name is Elyuj Chon-un. She said she had the chances of being her nephew and asked her to massage her legs, stretching one of them. The guy was confused. I wanted to say something, but got up. Still, he began to bring his hands closer to the girl's limb. She hit him with that foot. She called pathetic and impolite. He hurried to get out. Ven Yun appeared near a girl. She was frightened and turned her head to him. The young man thought of her like. In a moment, the girl's face became calm again, even cunning. Ven Yun wondered she was not afraid. The girl kindly turned to the boy, asking him now to massage her legs. Heavenly Demon disliked that she was talking to his follower. He told the guy that she was able to read the language of the body and most likely much older than it looks, but it hides it with the help of special equipment. At first, Ven Yun pretended to agree to fulfill the request, and then he paralyzed her body. Ven Yun said he would now start asking her the questions she should answer honestly and quickly. The girl realized that she was an extremely strong warrior, perhaps from an influential sect. The young man introduced himself to a student of a heavenly demon. Seeing doubts, he said he would not be able to find their secret place if it was not true. The girl replied that she believed in him. His words are also confirmed by the fact that she did not notice the traces of his energy. The heavenly demon told the young man to prove his status with something really imposing. Ven Yun told the girl that there were 3 techniques that the heavenly demon did not teach members of his sect. He demonstrated the limbo of heavenly demon, the technique that has already rescued him a couple of times. He created 12 his exact copies. The girl was convinced that the guy was really a follower of heavenly demon. This technique was rumored, but she did not see anyone who owned her. To this point, Ven Yun released the girl's body. Now that she knows who before her, she is unlikely to harm him. The guy asked to tell what is happening in the sect now, who owns it. The girl was introduced as Elyuj Ryan. She was honorable in the organization. Elyuj Ryan began its story. The sect consisted of 5 families. One of them was the name of the heavenly demon, Tanmok. Other families of the demon's demon, Bukun, Elyuj, Damde, Guyan. The laws play an important role in the sect. Only the Tanmok family heir can head the organization. 250 years ago, the last head of the sect as a result of the demon's war. The remaining relatives have not lived for a long time. The sect has existed without a leader all this time. Ven Yun suggested that someone still acting as the head, otherwise the families would have enclosed each other. Elyuj Ryan realized that it is not a fool that can only fight, but a guy who can think. She said that the leader's duties were performed by the Council of Elders and Guards. At her head, a relative of the Tanmok family. In addition, the sect controls 3 guards and 7 elders, and there are 4 lamps of demons. Ven Yun suggested that the latter were more important than ordinary elders in power. The girl called their nicknames: the Bloody Demon, the Demon of Olha, the Demon Poison, the Demon of the Gloomy Sky. Each of them represents a separate family. While she talked about the demons of the demons, the young man thought that they would have to win them to gain power. Elyuj Ryan also told about influential women's sect. These are 4 older and 4 flowers. She, by the way, is one of the elders. There are 12 demons masters that have many fans, which also makes them very authoritative. The girl reported that the sect has 20,000 people, 2,000 of which have some power. The guy wondered that the Northern Blanket Association was smaller. There are about 15,000. He wanted to introduce himself to other influential sectarians. Elyuj Ryan said it would be difficult to prove their connection with the heavenly demon. Ven Yun replied that he would not have to do it himself. Elyuj Ryan will be able to help him. She seemed crazy ambition of the boy, but she said she agreed. She had a condition. Elyuj Ryan promises to help if Ven Yun gives her what she wants. The guy did not embarrass such an agreement. If, of course, the request of Elyuj Ryan will be possible. The girl said that it is necessary to start the authorities with the approval of elders and guards. Next, you need to work with demons, masters, and later to collapse the lords of the demons of demons. Ven Yun went to look for guards in this building, but doubted whether in the right direction. Eliu Jian Ryan warned a young man that halls with elders and guards are guarded by trained craftsmen. The heavenly demon suspected that the guy was not going to penetrate security with his favorite equipment. He wanted to face her and check if they were really as workshops as Eliu Jian Ryan said. Ven Yun approached the hall and was still hidden from human eyes. But one masked man hit the swords side by side. The young man jumped and found himself between the walls. In fact, the security guard did not see him, but felt the wind up, so he attacked. Ven Yun mentally shouted at the heavenly demon because his equipment works imperfectly, and he explained that the boy had a low level of internal energy. The spirit also said that the security guard also uses this technique, but his level is lower, so Ven Yun sees him. It is expected that the members of the sect know the secret techniques of the celestial demon. Because of this, the young man will be more difficult to seek his goal. But this guard is one of the top 10 swords, so it should be easier with others. The guy went to the hall. In the center, leaning their heads, 3 elders were sitting and discussing something. The subject of the conversation was the results of children in the mastery of martial arts. The lower status man reported to his gentleman that the level of children this time is better than usual. The one who had the highest authority asked the other elder, calling him the second guard, or Ola Demon did something. It was answered that he has not yet appeared on people since he began to train alone. The second guard said that the bloody demon has more power, although the difference is small. The demon of Ulch is aware of this, so he trains as much as possible. The first guard expressed the opinion that if the sect was going to go to Shanvan, it would be better if the demon of Olha won. In this case, the bloody demon would calmly perceive its defeat and recognize another ruler. Olha's demon would have a different reaction. The elders were visited by the top 10 swords by prior order of the main guard. He reported that Zaida appeared in the sect and boiled the guards for not caught. The main guard launched something sharp directly in Ven Yun without any prerequisites. But the guy caught it. All the warriors sent the swords in his direction, although he was still hidden by the technique of the celestial demon. The young man began to ask who he was and how he was in the sect, and he just smiled. Ven Yun moved to the main guard in a second. The guards intended to grab it. The old man stopped them, wanting to ask the guy on his own. He calmly asked his name. Ven Yun, with the superior expression, replied that he was a student of a heavenly demon, a destroyer of heaven. Eliu Jian Ryan told the young man in advance about the guards. One of them is the golden demon fire Tan Mok Hu. The other is a gold shield demon, General Tan Mok San, but the most important is the third. Tan Mok Chonun is a heavenly demon. He hides a lot from the members of the sect, has been living for more than 200 years. Only Tan Mok Chonun discovered a guy who was hidden thanks to the heavenly demon technique. The elders, of course, did not believe the words of the young man. Tan Mok Hu was hurt on him, rushing for being dare to shit with the figure of a heavenly demon. The guards surrounded the guy again, and he just looked into the eyes of Tan Mok Chonun. The advisor was surprisingly restrained. He asked to prove his words. The guy took a few seconds to come up with how to do it. The easiest way was to show the sword of the celestial demon. Tan Mok Chonun has determined that it is most likely not a fake, but this will not be enough to appoint a young man as a sect leader. The old man said the guy can get respect and luxurious reception if he gives the sword, but if he tries to get into their system of power, he will be severely repelled. As a response, Ven Yun joked that the status of the founder of the sect probably has no meaning. The heavenly demon raged and called the current members of his organization. The young man supported him, but the spirit could only see Ven Yun. The guards decided that the guy was playing a stupid performance, or he just went crazy. Tan Mok Chonun said that having a celestial demon could not give 100% guarantee that the young man is saying the truth. Only a real demonic force can persuade them. The guard led Ven Yun with cave tunnels. In the hands of the sectarian, fire was burning. This showed that oxygen is enough in the caves. The guard explained that he was formed by rocks. They came to the tomb of Heavenly Demon. The entrance was majestically decorated with his image. Tan Mok Chonun suggested that the guy open the gate and take one thing from the tomb. In this way, he will prove his connection with the celestial demon. Ven Yun raised the advisor the logical question of what it is necessary to bring from there. He was referring to the ring that belonged to the heavenly demon. Decorations which depicted 3 masks were allowed to wear only sects. The spirit told that he adored this ring. It incidentally contained secret knowledge about the demon's fighting techniques. The guy decided that it would be useful to get a decoration, but it was not possible to open the door to the tomb. The guards asked the main guard whether he was convinced that it was worth allowing the young man to go to the holy place. Tanmokchonon replied that the guy technicians really resemble the handwriting of the heavenly demon, but to allow him to become the leader of the sect, one must finally be sure. For this purpose, the task of picking up a ring from the tomb is perfect. Tanmokchonon assured the guards that it would be difficult to do because a place is protecting. A servant came to the guards and said that Ven-Yun was asking for something for him. He wants him to bring elixirs with healing properties. Everyone who is near the tomb, he asks to move away. People who are nearby may suffer from strong energy that will spread when Ven-Yun will be entry into the entrance to the sword of a heavenly demon. In the meantime, the guy tried to understand how best to fit the weapon. The spirit advised him to concentrate in one place, so he hit the sword in the iron door. His eyes became red at this moment, and the energy of the same color dispersed around. Ven-Yun was convinced that it would work right away, but his blow left only a small mark on the gate. The guy continued attempts for 3 hours. The scratch on iron has, of course, increased, but not much. Ven-Yun decided to move the focus of his attention from physical strength to internal energy. The heavenly demon told that it could greatly improve his skills. The main thing is to be confident and gain determination. If the flux of internal energy is powerful, the sword will pick it up instead of creating a new one, and the result meets expectations. The young man meditated for more than 28 hours. All this time, he tried to balance the emotions within himself. It began to be surrounded by a new energy, stronger. Ven-Yun felt that his inner strength had changed dramatically. It was already difficult for him to imagine how he existed before when she was so scanty. The heavenly demon laughed at the fact that the guy had not shown interest in the levels of internal energy before. Ven-Yun said he would now be constantly improved. He is not interested in energy limits, it will break past them. The guy took the weapon again. This time everything was different. Confidence was real. The young man threw the sword into a mighty door. He sat in them, and in a moment a whirlwind formed, large golden color. He blinded his eyes. The heavenly demon and Huinan watched this process with genuine passion in the eyes. The passage opened. Ven-Yun saw inside not what expected. Hundreds and maybe thousands books occupied almost all the space. The young man looked more at some of them. There were, for example, a guide to study martial arts, but now the guy needed another. Huinan suggested that Ven-Yun doesn't like to read because he disregarded the books. The demon said it was in no way connected because these guides would not help someone who owns internal energy. The tomb was very large, consisting of 6 halls. One of them stored elixirs. Ven-Yun noted that their number is much higher than the reserves of the imperial palace. The next room was filled with weapons. Each weapon could find a written explanation. There was a hall that housed the statues of former sect leaders. Each of them supplemented information about the ruler and their inheritance in the form of books. Ven-Yun, according to the advisor, remembered that the last room stored valuable property of the celestial demon. The young man did not understand why he should be recognized as the heir to the founder of the sect if he simply opened the gate. It was not easy, but we will fulfill. The last hall met the guy with a highly beautiful statue of heavenly demon. He told that she perfectly reproduces his true appearance. While Ven-Yun was fascinated, someone was very large from behind, creating a pleasure that finally met a person. The young man used a technique that, for his hope, had to protect from an unknown attacker. But it did not help. 500 years ago, a high combat man lived. He was the strongest of the demons at the time. The man had many ambitions, even too much. One day, they led him to the abduction of the heavenly demon. No one learned about it, and the master of the demons used it during his training. The ring radiated its own energy that could influence people. As a result of constant contact with her, a man is crazy. The members of the sect staged a real war against him. More than 300 souls were killed, but the man managed to lock the heavenly demon in the tomb. So Ven-Yun is a stone wall. It formed many cracks, but the guy was almost not injured. The energy of the attacker was soaked in the entire hall. The Lord of the Demons attacked the young man again, this time where he took the sword. A man with burning red eyes called the tomb guest quite strong and suggested looking at his other talents. He launched his sword toward Ven Yun. The young man was lucky that he recently had a tightly engaged in the level of internal energy, so he was able to beat the blow. Seeing that the use of weapons does not help, the Lord of Demons decided to put his fists. The collision was intense. Ven Yun was no longer so difficult to fight. He released as much striking energy as possible, but the guy realized that the enemy had more inner strength. He also demonstrated her yarrow. The Lord of Demon was pleased that he competed with a truly strong warrior. He asked who the guy was. The man did not assume that he was a sect member because he would not be launched into the tomb. Ven Yun changed the topic, saying that the Lord of the Demons was not as strong as it was swaying, otherwise he would have long been out of his prison. But he did not want to talk about himself, so he continued to ask his visitor why he came. The young man replied that he wanted to find and pick up the ring of Heavenly Demon because he belongs to him. The Lord of Demons suggested that the boy was persuaded to come here for him, and then he was tired of talking, and he attacked. Two boys competed with each other. Damde Chu Guan again took the mountain and overthrew the enemy to the ground. The lost boy was smeared with blood. He sobbed and asked to admire him. However, Damde Chu Guan killed him. He compared his act with a predator which dealt with his victim. The boy did not feel any emotions. Damde Chu Guan was the strongest in the sect. Everyone respected it, but he was not enough in life. Therefore, the guy stole the ring of Heavenly Demon. He tried to curb him, but it was very rare, and only a few seconds. The ring managed the young man. She made him without thinking to do scary things. He killed 300 people and realized it only when they were already dead. Damde Chu Guan despair in itself and the benefit of the ring. The murder did not give him what he wanted. The guy came to the statue of Heavenly Demon and splashed his emotions because there was no one else. He told about his loneliness and worthlessness. Damde Chu Guan thought he would like to live at the same time as the Heavenly Demon. He decided to return the ring to the first owner, putting near the statue. Then the young man struck a book in which the Heavenly Demon described his battle receptions. He was shocked that the techniques he used all his life, the founder of the sect, used differently. Damde Chu Guan, we can say, found a new meaning of life by exploring the works of a celestial demon. The guy decided to change the purpose of his life. Now he only seeks to improve his hand so much to reach the author's level of these books. It took many years and was ridiculous to hear from a young boy that he considers himself a follower of Heavenly Demon, because true knowledge was only in him. Damde Chu Guan attacked Ven Yun again and again, then using a sword, then releasing energy flows. The attacker said that although many had arrogance to call himself an advisor to the Heavenly Demon, only he really deserved him. His giant sword, which emitted pink power, looked a bit more spectacular even against the background of a mighty Ven Yun. Damde Chu Guan showed the perfect internal balance that allowed him to continue producing energy in the same amount. And maybe it was even more due to a man's malice. The pink energy surrounded the young man on all sides, but Ven Yun did not give up and continued to repel the attacks as he could. The Heavenly Demon, when tracking the fight, quarreled the guy because he was using the wrong approach. The manifestations of strength will not help to overcome the enemy. You need to show your skills, then there will be a chance. Ven Yun said he did not need explanations. He gathered and prepared to strike, which may finally happen. Ven Yun used the limbo of Heavenly Demon, creating a bunch of clones with smug face. They began to attack Damde Chu Guan friendly. He guessed that he could use Ven Yun for reception, but could not believe it yet. When he accepted this fact, he still remained puzzled, because in order to master this technique, the guy had to get acquainted with the works of a Heavenly Demon. But they were all stored in his tomb. Damde Chu Guan was perfectly understood on energetic attacks. It would seem that strength is flying in all sides. It is impossible to protect itself. But in fact, if you know the system and sequence, everything is quite simple. The speed of the attack by each warrior, but adjusting to it only left to dodge from each energy wave. The technique of the Heavenly Destroyer was different. The energy flew at the same time, so the avoidance of each individual wave will not save here. Damde Chu Guan came up with another way to escape from blows. He formed a hurricane from the energy that knocked the young man's clone on the ground. The heavenly demon asked Ven Yun to continue attacking, and Huinan recommended to stop and come up with a more successful attack strategy. The guy shouted to them that they were preventing him from focusing. Damde Chuguan suggested that he was talking to himself with madness. Ven Yun said the demons that he needed to purify consciousness and gave Drapak. Damde Chugvan was angry and called him a coward. The guy said he did not run away from the fight, just thinks what technique to use. He confidently got his other weapon, the Sword of the Spirit. Then both of them lifted into the air, sending to the enemy. Damde Chu Jivan called the guy brazen, but it did not stop him from sending the sword right to him, so the man had to fight away, although it was a little difficult. The master of the demons did not understand why the guy was still not weakened. They have been fighting for some time. It should happen. It was here that he realized that the energy of the brazen is not something that does not decrease, but even increases. Finally, the Sword of the Spirit found his goal by impressing Damde Chugvan. He crashed into the wall and washed. Ven Yun realized that he won. He then asked if Damde Chugwan was still doubting that he is the heir and a heavenly demon. The man still did not understand how possible, but he was aware of his loss and allegedly respected the winner. Damde Chugvan shared that he studied and improved his skills for so many years to lead the sect, and now it makes no sense because he is not really the heir to the heavenly demon. Ven Yun said that of course he plans to get the title of sect leader, but not sure what he would do next. Therefore, he proposes to go with him and help develop the organization. Damde Chugvan seemed to have heard his desire to live during the heavenly demon. The boys agreed and shook their hands as if there was nothing. The main guard was already thinking that Ven Yun died. But what was the surprise on the faces of all three when he put them in front of them? The young man proudly demonstrated his guard, and all thirsty with his hand with a heavenly demon rush on it. No less shock caused by the fact that the young master stood Damde Chugvan. Ven Yun smiled soap and suggested that this time everyone was convinced that he was a student of a heavenly demon. Damde Chugvan said that the sect remained almost the same. In doing so, he called Ven Yun with all the high. The surprise of the main guardian is difficult to convey with words. He could not think that the young man won the commitment of a 5-year-old master of demons. Tan Mok Chonan said loudly that he recognizes Ven Yun with the high heavenly demon and bowed to him. After that, all present synchronized expressed respect for their new leader. Ven Yun explained by the guard that the spirit of the heavenly demon was inserted into his body as a result of a little known rite. Damde Chugvan just realized that the young man did not talk to him during the battle. Tan Mok Chonan was wondering that there were techniques and rituals that are almost unknown to anyone. He asked the young man, who is now saying the heavenly demon. Ven Yun honestly told that from the moment he found himself in the sect, the spirit constantly complained about his successors. The heavenly demon thought that his people had to capture the whole world for a long time, not to hide where. The spirit asked the opportunity to talk to the sectarians on their own, using Ven Yun as a mediator. 3 guards and Damde Chugwan sat in front of the guy, listening carefully to the young man. The spirit spent a lot of time criticizing the external and internal state of the sect. He asked to give Ven Yun the same status that he has. The sectarians undoubtedly agreed with everything. For them, the heavenly demon really was of great importance. Tan Mok Chonun asked Ven Yun what his opinion was formed about the ring. The guy could speak to the appearance of the decoration that seemed nothing to him. The heavenly demon called him a fool because he does not understand the strength he hides the ring. He told the boy that if the item is filled with energy and launched through the air, he would break anything. The ring can completely neutralize the danger of fire, or to save from the action of the poison if you put it in your mouth. Ven Yun called Damde Chugvan and reported that they would now go on the road. He stressed that they would need to curb 12 horses. These words puzzled the demons, and Tan Mok Chonan immediately realized what the young man refers to the demons. The guy is going to meet them because they have a powerful potential for removing the sect from the cave and strengthening it. Ven Yun decided to get to the demons master secretly, just in case. Therefore, they used the technique of the heavenly demon that hid them. The 12th hopes of the sect turned out to be young people who were resting, laughing, and drinking something. While Damde Chugwan was in a stupor because he didn't expect that, Ven Yun was already calling the demons and asked for permission to join them. The boys and girls were wary of strangers, so at first they asked who he was. Then Yun asked the partner to explain to them. He straightened, showing his remarkable muscles. As a result, the boys proved what they wanted and forced every demon master to kneel. Ven Yun praised the company for combat skills. If you consider their age, they were indeed a find. One of the master demons said they were ready to swear allegiance only to the warrior who was the leader of the heavenly demon sect and was able to win them. These conditions have already been fulfilled, so all 12 sincerely recognized Ven Yun with their master. While the young man was glad, the heavenly demon noticed that he looks painful. The spirit was just starting to say it, wanted to offer him a rest, and Ven Yun had already lost consciousness and fell to the ground. The guy was in bed. Nearby were Damde Chu Guan and Tan Mok Chonun. The old man quarreled the demons because he did not notice the condition of his master. Damde Chiu Gvan suggested that the guy was bad because he used energy and new equipment, the Sword of Nature. The guard did not believe it. The Lord of the Demons was not confident because he saw this technique for the first time, though he knew about it. Masters did not immediately believe the Heavenly Destroyer. They shouted that they would never obey. Ven Yun realized that he would need to impress them as much as possible to convince him of his correctness. He took out the sword of the heavenly demon, which began to radiate unusual energy that Damde Chu Guan noted for himself. She was like smoke. Master demons were also interested in a spectacle, and then they felt that they could not move. It would seem that there is nothing to be surprised, but Ven Yun found new ways every time. Tan Mok Chonun thought that he may be the first in the history of who had such strength. Passed a certain amount of time, and Ven Yun woke up. There was no one in the room. He dreamed a strange dream in which he wandered the black space. The guy suddenly raised the question of heavenly demon about what different power and energy of the sword. One reply was not discharged. Ven Yun continued to ask all sorts of crazy interest. The heavenly demon wondered in such a passion, but gladly discussed all the nuances of combat technicians. Thanks to this fruitful conversation, Ven Yun has well enriched his knowledge and improved himself. The next few days went without shocks. Ven Yun was engaged in master demons and said that he had managed to learn during his travels. He was strangely aware that he was now playing a teacher's role. The inner energy of the guy increased again. He has mastered the elusive sword technique perfectly, learning to break the stone in half. It may even be said that Ven Yun has become more controlled than a heavenly demon. The guy was sitting on a golden throne, dressed as a lord. He was surrounded by subjects who bowed to him. Eliuj Yon Ryan was there too, although she immediately had a high thought of the boy, but clearly underestimated him. The girl looked at the master of the demons and thought that for so many years no one could curb him, but came one Parubiko and managed to give up his respect. He, by the way, noticed her views and rudely heated on Eliuj Yon Ryan for staring. Influential people gathered to discuss important topics. Tan Mok Chonun asked the leader what the future he sees for their sect. Ven Yun said it is sure to take care of him, and then asked about a duel that should happen the next day. He was referring to the demon Olha and the bloody demon, the powerful warriors who did not come together in his views. The match between them had to resolve their conflict, and at the same time determine the future of the sects of the heavenly demon. Tan Mok Chonun said that their ambitions are not relevant now because the leader has already been found. Ven Yun did not agree with the guard. He believes that the participants of the duel represent the options in which direction the sect will move. Therefore, to make the right choice, the guy wants to find out more about them. Damde Chu Guan asked if the supreme seizure of Chonvan, an area near the Huani River. The guy replied that they would subordinate these lands, but not the way the sectarians think of. The conquest of the territory will lead to casualties that no one needs, and in general, the sect must first develop from the inside and then think about foreign policy. Master Demons talked about a new leader. Okekirin asked Muyon Shun, but he did not want to share his considerations, only said that the Supreme really deserves his place in the sect. Everyone saw his forces that prove it. In fact, Muyon Shun was worried. Ven Yun followed how the Master of Demons trained, and then praised him for diligence. Further, the new sect leader asked Damde Chugvan secretly to gather from 40 quite young soldiers who were fully committed to their place of residence. The guy also ordered how high quality the training center works. The Lord of the Demons calmly listened to the request, only asking whether the gender of the soldiers was important. Ven Yun said no, and in the soul of Damda Chu Gwan worried what he needed an army. The supreme heavenly demon was sitting on the throne, thinking about the future tournament and the fate of Chonvon. He also mentioned the conflict between orthodox and demonic sects. He was glad that it would definitely think about this secret place. The guy called the best swordsman and asked to pass the letter to the person who knows the best. The day of the duel has come. A bunch of people came to find out about the result first. Everyone had different opinions about whether Chonvon should be captured, but everyone was concerned about this topic. 3 guards came to the people. This caused a flurry of excited conversations because they were extremely influential. Ven Yun and Damde Chu Guan appeared near them. Ordinary people did not yet know who became the leader of the sect, so they were surprised to see an unknown young boy. Ven Yun noticed the crowd's excitement for the duel. Tanmok Chonun said it was expected because the event would have great consequences. The participants of the duel appeared. They were quite elderly. The Ulki demon represented the Bukun family. The bloody demon came from the Damde family. Both were actively supported by observers. Ven Yun asked the guard why only they compete if the main demons are 4. Tanmok Chonan replied that these persons have the greatest impact. He then recalled that the bloody demon was once a servant of the master of demons. The guy said he remembers little from his past life. This fragment, for example, has completely forgotten. Tanmok Chonan said the bloody demon was given to his gentleman, even after the herself killed 300 people because of the action of the ring. The Lord of Demons did not want to get hung up on this. It was better to start a duel sooner. Tanmok Chonan began a small speech, emphasizing the importance of the event. He ordered to accept the result that would work. The old man asked the fighters if someone wanted to speak. Ulki Demon expressed such a desire. He said he wanted to fulfill the desire of the sect and get them out of the cave. In his opinion, now a great moment for this, as their organization is large and very strong. Then Ola's demon showed his rage, calling on a bloody demon who wants to disgrace their ancestors without developing a sect. He magnified all those present in his speech and predicted the gradual admiration of all Murim. Ven Yun noted that a man is clearly able to speak well. He had a bunch of supporters who shouted words of support. Tanmok Chonan has announced a duel. The one who first recognizes himself is defeated. The opponents stood opposite each other. The Ola demon showed golden energy in his palms. The bloody demon held a mighty sword in his hand. The purple spirit said that the fight between those who have equal strength can be dangerous to the audience. No one has struck the first blow. The fighters are up to date and try to predict the enemy's actions. Ven Yun told a heavenly demon that he did not understand such behavior. He would simply apply a deadly blow and won. The spirit said that at the level of skill on which the fighters are located, it is impossible. Damda Chu Gvan expressed the opinion that the bloody demon has more chances. He asked, as Ven Yun believes. The guy could not yet express reasoned judgments. He only noticed that he was experiencing strange energy. The first was struck by Ola's demon, releasing powerful golden flows with his own hands. The sword of a bloody demon has coped with them. Damde Chu Guan and Ven Yun concluded that the forces in men are really very similar. The Ola's demon jumped high and hit with energy with greater overclocking and rage. But this bloody demon was completely neutralized with its sword. He then released a clot of energy that turned into a large, crazy dragon. The Ola demon used the demonic river of light, which formed holes in the creation, and eventually destroyed it. The fighter flew again and launched a clearly directed energy to the enemy. She hit the bloody demon. Blood was visible near his mouth. It became bad. Ola's demon decided that he had already won. He overthrew the enemy to the ground and began to make a final blow. But the bloody demon did not give up. The fighter dropped the attacker and jumped out, stirring his energy. Ven Yun did not want Olha's demon victory, but everything was approaching it. Therefore, the guy asked the partner to intervene. Ola's demon looked like crazy. The eyes were red on the face of grimace. He was preparing another blow. Damda Chu Guan jumped into the arena, standing between the fighters and knocking down both. The Lord of the Demon addressed the demon Ola to the question of why he was attacking if he lost. And he shouted loudly from the anger at the one who interfered with the duel, assuring that he would destroy the bloody demon. Unknown armed masked people came into the arena who seemed to be subordinated to Olha's demon. Ven Yun quickly reacted, ordering the best swordsmen, demons, and master of demons to neutralize violators of the law. The attackers aggressively waved swords that emitted purple energy. Damda Shugvan was holding a bloody demon because he was badly weakened and could not stand on his feet. The demon of Olsh on the whole throat shouted to his soldiers so that they would kill everyone who interferes with them. The masters quickly joined the fight and began to destroy people in masks. Ola's demon, watching it, began to worry, and Ven Yun came to the back. When the man returned, his fist flew into his face, and then the young man dropped him to the ground and continued to beat. A little weakened by the enemy, Ven Yun asked who they were and where the real demon of Olha asked. The man was raging from the realization of how strong the guy who won him and guessed the replacement. Ven Yun asked fewer unnecessary words, otherwise he may be angry and demonstrate his rage physically. The man said his name is Ju Hogvan. He holds the post of deputy leader of the cult of false, vicious blood. The demon Olha addressed them to help him win a duel with a bloody demon. But then he abandoned the agreement, so they sent a fallen person to the heavenly demon. The spy of Olha's demons poisoned for a while so that he could not use his strength as much as possible. The masters reported that they had already dealt with sudden attackers. They are all dead. The people in the crowd were much surprised that the guy was called the Supreme. Ola's false demon realized that his warriors were destroyed, so he said that Ven Yun could not kill him, otherwise he would not know all the important information. The young man annoyed this old man, but he could not disagree with him, so he released him with delight. Ven Yun, seeing the joy on the person of the interlocutor, said from above that he would not ask him anything. The man had time to frighten. Ven Yun suggested that demons talk to him and find out everything he needed. People discussed a strange guy who had a ring and a sword that was very similar to those belonging to the celestial demon. Also, the way they turned to him added interest in this person. The same demon who spoke felt guilty and wanted to apologize. But Ven Yun did not want to listen to him, asking him only to be silent so that again something inadvertently does not say something. The young man understood that now we needed to tell the truth of the people to calm down. So he stood in the arena to the Avilarinatoria and declared loudly that he was the successor of the heavenly demon. Ordinary words, of course, could not convince everyone at once. It was difficult to believe that the successor of the founder of their sect became a very young guy, and no one knows. Ven Yun began to think as if it would promptly prove the truth of his words, and here he was approached by Damda Chugvan and said that it was not necessary to do it. The people of the demons recognized and immediately began to discuss its appearance. He understood it, so he decided to help his gentleman. Damda Chugwan has bowed to the new sect leader, repeated guards and demons. When the audience saw it, no one doubted that that strange guy was the heir to the heavenly demon. Ven Yun convened a small meeting. He wanted to know more about the cult of false, vicious blood. His advisor, Tanmok Chonun, said that this is the unification of heretics, with which the sect of the heavenly demon has not maintained connections from the time of the 7th demonic war. The old man apologized to what allowed their people to get here. Ven Yun said he is not very important to him now who is guilty. The main thing is to understand what has happened specifically and how to avoid this in the future. Tanmok Chonun said that now the sect is not much known about the cult of false vicious blood, but once the number of their members was about the same as in them, those people live secretly from everyone. Even in the last demonic war, they almost did not participate, only attacked the sect of the heavenly demon. The young man said that if the cult members dared to attack, then they are now strong. The closest goal of the sect leader is to find Olha's demon and listen to what he will say. The guy announced to everyone that the reform was starting from that day. He wanted to postpone it, but because of the threat to the cult, it is better not to risk it. Ven Yun planned to share with all members of the sect the secret techniques of the celestial demon, but Tanmok Chonun was strongly opposed. According to centuries, these knowledge was given only worthy. The guy tried to assure that customs could change, and it is absolutely normal. His plan would make the sect much stronger and help in the war with the cult. Another desire of the young man was to consider, first and foremost, people's talents, not origin or status. Ven Yun considers honest if a person becomes stronger than his leader and takes his place. The guy's suggestions were innovative for the sect. He suggested dividing it into 10 ranks and changing the hierarchy. Ven Yun named the demons to command the army of warriors and to train all masters of martial arts in the sect. No one expected this decision because Damde Chugvan was once responsible for the death of hundreds of people. The guy said he remembers it, but what happened 50 years ago did not affect the current events because the master of the demons is completely given to the sect. Tan Mok Chonun was interested in the leader if Ola's demon would take away the title after his actions. It was at this point that he was brought to the meeting room. The 4 soldiers carried Ola's demon on stretchers. The man was in a fairly poor condition. Ven Yun reported that he does not plan to change the status of Olha's demon in society. General Tan Mok Son did not support this decision because he believed that the man had betrayed his sect. The young man said he could not punish him for one mistake, but they ask others not to worry. If the demon of Olha again something is drowning, then he will regret it. The man on the stretcher was conscious. He apologized to the Supreme, crying. Damde Chu Gvan perceived his master as a heavenly demon he read about in books, but that man seemed very lonely, and this guy is not like that. Ven Yun is not afraid to realize new ideas, always seeks to achieve justice, and has principles that are not inferior to anyone, even respectful guard. The young man reminds the master of the demons' demons. There is something truly in it. Damde Chu Gvan trained a group of children with a sword. Ven Yun approached him. The boys sat on the stone a little chat. The leader of the sect asked if many students were dying. The Lord of Demon replied that this happens. Not everyone can withstand the load. It is cruel, but it is important to educate strong warriors. Weak people would still be eliminated sooner or later. Ven Yun was agreed with that. He watched the children with admiration. The group was very strong, despite the age. Thanks to the efforts of the leader and his assistants, the Heavenly Demon sect has been actively developing. The warriors were taught secret techniques, allowed to use elixirs. Therefore, the internal energy in the members of the sect has increased significantly. 2 months went unnoticed, but prepared the organization for future obstacles. Ven Yun reported that, as he said earlier, he would not have a war with Chonvan. First, they will send some of the sectarians there so that the locals do not notice the unlawful. The guy gathered a group from Damde Chuguan, Mu Yon Chishan Demon, and Damde Mu Rin Commander that will come to the surface with him. Tan Mok Chonan told the young man that he could do something before going. There is a tradition by which graduates who have achieved the greatest success in training have been awarded weapons. There is one such pupil, so the advisor is wondering if Ven Yun wants to host him. The guy fully supported this tradition, as young people need to motivate to study hard. The best graduate was a girl named Bukun So-gun, which was called to the hall where the sect leader sat. The guy asked if she had some desire that he could fulfill as a gift for his diligence. The girl confidently said there was no. Tan Mok-hu and Tan Mok-son discussed the graduate, wondering what her answers are so short. Ven Yun expected other reaction from the girl. He asked her what she had plans for the future. Bukun So-gun inspired that she wanted to become the best sword in the Heavenly Demon sect. To Guardian, clearly the girl was not liked. Her words seemed to them arrogance. But they didn't embarrass the sect leader. On the contrary, it probably looked like a manifestation of courage and determination. The guy was wondering who, according to the girl, was now the best sword. Bukun So-gun thought and suggested that he was the one who is conquered even by nature. Ven Yun was delighted with her honesty. Everyone expected the girl to name his name because he was the leader of the sect, but she said what she really thinks. This was a young man, so he decided to add a gift from himself to the award in the form of a treatise with combat equipment and weapons. Ven Yun said that he has not a lot of property, but there is something. He got the Sword of God. The guards were shocked. Tan Mok Chonan hinted that perhaps a weapon that belonged to a celestial demon is too generous gift. The guy didn't care how much the elders approved his choice. He did not stop on his sword and announced that Bukun So-gun would become his student. As a last gift, Ven Yun suggested that the graduates go with him to Chonvan, which she gladly gave her consent. In honor of the fact that the leader with his group will go upwards, there was a great holiday for the whole people. Men in the crowd discussed how the Supreme got into Chonvan. They mentioned someone unknown who had to help him. The advisor told the guy that a hidden creature was hidden in the Heavenly Demon, which would move him directly to Chonvan. To release it, you only need to swell on the decoration. The young man decided to ask in the spirit whether it was true. The heavenly demon did not reveal the details. He only said that he grew a hidden beast from his birth. Ven Yun did not delay and blew into the ring. He repeated it several times, but no one appeared. Suddenly the guy saw a giant bird who waved his wings majestically. The heavenly demon was happy that everything was well with him. He reported that the name of the bird was a golden falcon. The creature landed and slowly approached the young man. Ven Yun was a little scared. The purple spirit noticed it and began to make fun of the boy, assuring that no one would eat him. On the recommendation of the heavenly demon, Ven Yun extended his hand to the bird, which he gently accepted. The guy wondered how bright his life was after he left the imperial palace. Ven Yun called his group and suggested everyone to climb on the back of the golden head falcon to get to the city quickly. The warriors flew to Hanzhou, the capital of Zhejiang, which is an extraordinary place with picturesque landscapes. Since the city flowed by the city, it was constantly a lively trade with foreigners. There was something to look at. Dancers, magicians, and other interesting things were greeted on the streets. For people who spent their entire lives in dark and damp caves, this sight seemed like a real miracle. Ven Yun was much smaller because he saw a pile of entertainment in the palace, but on the street he also meets this for the first time. Bukun So-gun did not suffer to try local food, so she called for a snack stop. Dame de Chuguan asked the girl to talk to Mr. with greater respect, but Ven Yun said he had heard nothing criminal. He also agreed to eat, but not in the most popular restaurant. The group came to Xianan. This is one of the largest buildings in the city. She was 3-story. The higher the floor, the richer people stopped there. On the ground floor, besides, it was possible to eat. The restaurant had many people. The group chose a table. The waitress who came in to accept the order seemed to look evil. Ven Yun noticed this, so he pulled the smiled smile as possible and ordered fried duck, noodles, fried dumplings, and tea. The waitress was already moved. The guy told his companions that their appearance was too gloomy and asked to be a little more friendly so that outsiders did not pay attention to them. Ven Yun ordered him to call him a young master, or at least a master, because with these titles he already had a problem. He does not want repetitions. He warned that in Marima he was known as Heavenly Jade Dragon. The guy also reflects on the nicknames of his satellites, because the phrase Lord of Demons will definitely not pass just so past the ears of citizens. But they just brought their order, which looked very assured, so he decided to decide it later. Bukun So-gun, who shook the deliciousness of her mouth, asked the master in parallel why he chose this city. Ven Yun replied that it is the leader of the Association of Demonic Puta. The young man shared with his company that the Northern Blades convened the Alliance Marima to destroy demonic sects. He suspected that there were already the consequences of this, and it is in Hanzhou that they can be tracked. 2 armed men in white kimono came to the restaurant, which caused a feeling of tension in the air. Dame de Chuguan spoke to the group that they looked quite suspicious. Ven Yun rejoiced that they were so quickly met with Northern Blades. A couple of men looked at the sectarians, quickly realizing that they were warriors because they had a weapon. Ven Yun was lightly approaching Orthodox and Soap greeted, but the men were alert and prepared to get swords if needed. The young man kindly asked them where the city can be found in the city of the Association of Demonic Puta. One of the men got his sword and sent to the boy, evil calling him a demonic admirer. Ven Yun took his sword cover and put on it, and later grabbed his weapon. The man did not notice how it happened. Orthodox began shouting at the guy and ordering him to release the sword. He did so that the man lost his balance and fell to the floor. The group of the Heavenly Demon sect leader watched the fun bullying. Ven Yun pulled again a sweet smile and extended the man's hand, apologizing for his rudeness. He introduced himself to Heavenly Jade Dragon. The young man was on the trips for 3 months, so he does not know about Murim's recent events. The members of the Northern Blades were confused and bowed to the guy in his feet, apologizing that they did not recognize him immediately. Ven Yun did not expect such honors. He asked the men who was going about him now. They began to admire that he is considered extremely an influential man who is served by King and Shaolin, and who is known by every warrior Marima. The young man was from such attention to his person, and again raised the question of the events of recent months. As a result, he learned that the alliance against the demonic path was headed by the leader of the Association of Northern Blades. His troops managed to attack the base of the demonic sect, which was located just in this city. Many orthodoxy lost their lives because the opponents were ready for their attack. Ven Yun asked how it could happen if the alliance's forces, as far as he remembered, were much larger. The man said it happened because the demonic sect fought dishonestly and then fled. The young man did not understand how to condemn those who won, although the attackers were much stronger. Orthodox added that most demonic sects are hiding underground, but the alliance is actively engaged in their search. It is rumored that Demon helps the descendant of the influential Orthodox genus Chagall, so they are not yet destroyed. The second member of the Northern Blade said it was a fool and it is not necessary to hammer your head. The men told everything they mentioned. Ven Yun sincerely thanked them for clarification. When he had already gone to his table, Orthodoxes decided that the guy was extremely pleasant. Ven Yun was glad from the bottom of the heart that the demonic sects give a worthy repel to opponents. He did not expect such, given the uneven forces. The young man could not but think about the secret person who helped the demon. He asked his group not to get rid of food, because they needed to get to another place. They went to the Golden Frog Bank, which was the largest in the country because it had a bunch of branches in other cities. He was headed by Chanan Hyon, not a very pleasant man who hated to serve people, especially poor. The company of young sectarians caused him negative emotions, which he did not assent to express them in his face. Ven Yun showed the man a golden token that belonged to the former emperor. The Golden Frog Bank belonged to Huan No and Huej No, so Chan Un Hyon quickly realized that these guests needed to behave politely. The man invited the group to the table in the room of receptions for the most respected visitors. He has apologized several times for his rudeness, justifying himself. Ven Yun said he had already forgotten about it. The main thing, he wants to find the brothers who head the branch. Chan and Hyon said that it could easily contact them, although the old people are rarely communicating with other people. The guy asked them to pass on his request to come to Honshu to meet him. The head of the institution, of course, agreed. Afterwards, he learned that young people have not stopped in the city anywhere, so he suggested paying them accommodation in the best place so that they would not have any evil on him. The young man said it was too expensive suggestion. The man was surprised to answer because Ven Yun possessed a golden token with which he could buy anything. Nobody suspected of it. The token was related to the bank's owners, so its owner had the opportunity to buy on their behalf. The group was walking in the evening city. Ven Yun was glad that thanks to his old friends, money problems cannot be afraid. They were approached by an unfamiliar man. It turned out to be sent by Chan Un Hyon to accompany the company. The sectarians were glad to have the opportunity to enjoy the beauty and entertainment of the city. Ven Yun asked them too much to be forgotten. Be careful and not attracting extra attention. The girls went to see what local merchants were selling, and Muyon Shun found some dancer and had time with her. Ven Yun with Damde Chugvan was calmly talking, looking at fireworks in the night sky. The Lord of Demons confessed that he really likes in this city. His interlocutor thought that, on the contrary, he would be quite boring. Damde Chugwan was sitting in the caves and studying the martial arts for 137 years, and now came out and saw a real life. Ven Yun was glad to hear it because he once promised him that the master of the demons would not regret it. The boys were so fond of talking that Damde Chugwan did not notice how he crashed into someone. That man was just nasty, and the boy began to call him and poke his finger. He said that his shoulder was damaged due to the collision, so the words as compensation were not enough. Ven Yun hoped that his friend would not get about this fool and would not make a fight. Damde Chugwan grabbed a man by his shoulder, but it was not noticeable that he was hurt. But he began to shout and assure that the guy would not get out of his hands, because he had powerful connections. Of course, it was not scared of demons. It was more funny from such a reaction. The man said he would forgive an inattentive guy if he crawls between his feet. Damde Chugwan really did it. He was indifferent that people had already agreed. He asked if the man forgot him now. It was noticeable that he wanted to invent another condition. Ven Yun asked Grubian to finally calm down. Moreover, such a good day. The man pushed him, swearing that the guy got into his own thing and also says nonsense. After such an act, Damde Chugwan attacked him from behind and knocked to the ground, shining with fierce red eyes. The man fainted. The earth under him dispersed cracks. Blood flowed from his head. The master of the demons threatened to fulfill that he would fulfill any request of his master, can climb on the ground or parody the dog. But if the guy is offended, he will punish the scoundrel. That man seems to have died. The races began to run quickly, feeling the danger. Then Yun merged that Damda Chugvan has not listened to it and attracted considerable attention. He apologized but said he could not hold back. A man who accompanied the company made his way to the boys. He reported that the body should be removed from here. Then Yun asked for inconvenience and asked if it would be difficult to get this situation. He replied that he would settle, but their company would now be difficult to leave Hanshou. The young man asked if the dead was really as influential as he said. The man said he was just a robber, but had good connections with the demonic sect. Then Yun reported that it would be sure to find a way out and reduce the number of possible problems. The next day, the whole city was pasted with ads that described this situation. But the person of the dead was condemned there, and his death was justified by a small, stupid head. Anyone to whom this death has delivered pain can give money as an apology in the royal hall of the Xianan house. People who read the news did not understand what the trick was. Can anyone come and get money? The company is located in Xianan. Bukun Sogun asked Mr. And Damda Chugvan recommended the guy to take a better walk and relax after all the adventures. Ven Yun did not want to evade the responsibilities that he himself gave, so he decided to devote time to a new student. So they will go out in the open air with Bukun Sogun. Damda Chugvan stays older. Ven Yun warned him that members of the demonic sect could come. He asked not to kill them, but to find out important information on how to contact the sect. The training was in the suburbs. Bukun Sogun showed how she wrapped her new sword. The guy said her movements were too soft. The skillful warrior should be more sharp, like a zipper. The girl tried to listen to the coach's words. Ven Yun asked to concentrate on the tip of the weapon. So far, she didn't work out. The guy suspected that the reason was a new sword, which she was not fully accustomed to. They sat down to rest and drink water. Ven Yun asked if she feels something when she performs the techniques of a celestial demon. Bukun Sogun was unable to answer. The guy was patient. He explained that sooner or later consciousness should connect with the sword. The main thing is to train regularly. The girl jokingly tired, blaming the young man that he gave her little time. She then jumped and cheerfully assured that she was ready to continue her studies, although she had been exhausted. Meanwhile, the heavenly demon went away from dissatisfaction that Ven Yun is engaged in a girl's workout instead of capturing the world. Also, the spirit did not like the guy's order for Damda Chugvan not kill anyone. In his opinion, the true follower of the heavenly demon should destroy anyone who interferes with his plans. For example, the spirit suggested the behavior of the master of demons, who recently killed an annoying man. Ven Yun said he could not kill all potential enemies because they may be innocent. The heavenly demon has seen anything that can be worried about, and Huanan fully supported the young man's position. Ven Yun has tried to assure the purple essence, which still has time to fulfill its purpose. There is nowhere to hurry. The guy heard a sound that marked that Damda Chugvan detained representatives of the demonic sect. They from Bukun. Sogun turned back and noticed a few dead bodies on the floor. The Lord of Demons innocently informed that one of the sectarians is still alive, so everything is fine. The guy noticed that the state of the detainee was bad and doubted whether he was still capable of talking. Damda Chugvan was loudly ordered the linked man to tell Mr. what he had already told of it. The detainee seemed infirm. He answered something calmly, at the same time using a hidden knife to cut the rope. When the man was released, he swung his weapon on the leader of the heavenly demon sect, screaming abusive words. Bukun Sogun stopped the unexpected attacker with the sword of the spirit, remembering the guidance of a new teacher. She said she would not kill him on the orders of her master, but strongly recommends that you no longer do such cases. The amazed man thought that the best fighter from the entire company, Damda Chugwan. He did not expect a young girl to stop him. Ven Yun praised the student for agility and approached the beaten man for a purpose to finally ask him. The prisoner did not hide anything, realizing that now he has definitely no chance to avoid talking. He said that the main demonic sects were only 8, and called them 8 gates of the demonic path. A group of people who almost completely destroyed Damda Chugvan was sent to kill the heavenly destroyer. The guy asked why it was so important for them to take revenge on a man killed on the street. The prisoner replied that he was a relative of the leader of his group. Ven Yun asked to take him to apologize for family loss. The prisoner was frightened and began to shout what he could not do because the leader would kill him with a crashing mission. The heavenly demon warned the young man that a new group was heading to Xianan's house. Ven Yun told the man about it. He was embarrassed that they sent new people. The guy turned to the master of the demons and informed that he gave him a chance, but followed by responsibility. He was very pleased that the gentleman trusts him and allows himself to show himself on the best side. Mu Yonchjeon asked the Damde Murin commander what they mean. The girl said that 2 days ago the boys had a conversation. Damde Chugvan told the young man that he was not quite reminiscent of a strong man externally. Ven Yun specified whether he was like a weak person. The Lord of Demons meant not this, but that the guy looks like a handsome, not like a strong man. Ven Yun said he didn't care because people win not with the help of appearance, but thanks to strength and tricks. Damde Chuguan agrees with him, but robbers look first and foremost, so they are not afraid of the guy at all. Because of this, there may be unpleasant situations, such as a rough man who is already dead. The Lord of Demons suggested that we wear a threatening mask. Ven Yun did not want to do this, but promised to think about his other words. Returning to the present events, the young man greeted the prisoner that he would first see a new face. With the help of the metamorphosis technique, the guy changed his appearance somewhat to look more threatening and ordered the man to return to his master and warned that he was waiting for the successor of the heavenly demon. The locals noticed that the lanterns who decorated the Xianan house were unexpectedly turned off. The new detachment of masked murderers broke into the building, taking hostages of workers and visitors. Ven Yun heard it and shouted loudly so that they did not hide like rats. The door to the room in which the guy was located was opened, and an unfamiliar head advanced on the passage. Ven Yun noticed how the prisoner reacted to it and realized that the unknown guest was the same leader of the murderers. The newly arrived name Ha Jin Chun. He turned to a linked man and said that his duty was to die after all the companions. The prisoner was scared. Ven Yun told the leader that one should not get rid of the right subjects. Ha Jin Chun called the guy's words bold, but threatened that they were not in the place where you can argue with him. Ven Yun said that the Xianan house is a beautiful and pleasant place, especially its royal hall. Ha Jin Chun asked if the young man belongs to the Alliance Marima, and then he said that in principle there was no difference, he would still kill him. From his sleeve looked a blade. The guy smiled and noted that another person could die, so he does not recommend the leader of the murderers to be so sure. The blade that gradually pulled Ha Jin Chun was very long and looked threatening. Despite this, Ven Yun noticed that a man is not quite skillfully wiring with his weapon. The guy made his sword with his sword, which he did not even remove from the cover. After this blow, Ha Jin Chun noticed that he could not control his hand because he didn't feel it. The man asked why the guy did not expose the sword. He replied that he would then be able to raise life. Ha Jin Chun's Satan from the abuse of a young boy and intensified how to win. Ven Yun did not think that the man just became the head of the murderer's detachment. He decided to follow his actions until attacking again. The beaten prisoner asked his master no longer attempting to overcome the young man, because he is a successor to a heavenly demon. Ha Jin Chun. Remembering the death of the previous group he sent here, the man realized that it could have been true. His face began to express incredible joy. The fact is that this guy was looking for the best warriors of the demonic path, but no one happened. The successor of the heavenly demon killed a bunch of members of the Association of Northern Blades, so he wanted to meet the respected demons. If it is Ha Jin Chun that will bring it to them, it will receive a great recognition. His appearance became much more friendly. The man asked the young man if he was really the same famous person. Ven Yun was amazed at a sudden coincidence. Damde Chuguan quietly suggested that it could be a merit of changed face. Ha Jin Chun has officially introduced and said that he was a great honor for him to personally talk to the successor of the heavenly demon. He asked the boy to go with him to meet with representatives of the demonic path who were very much waiting for him. Ven Yun learned that Ha Jin Chun was subordinated to the main council, so he asked simply to pass it on his message. The young man does not really support someone's side, but the Alliance Marima does terrible things simply because it can, so Ven Yun is against him. He wants to communicate with the main representative of the demonic sects. Ha Jin Chun asked why the guy didn't want to talk to the leader in their territory. Ven Yun named the meeting in 10 days in the Kafan Palace. It is where the Orthodox Alliance headquarters is located. This proposal was stunned by a man because he is sure that it will be dangerous for their leader. The guy assured that he was also at odds with the Alliance Murim, but there are some who will help them. He agrees that it is possible to accidentally get into a fight, but promises to protect the leader of the demonic path. Ha-Jin Chun noted the boy's frivolousness, at least in conversation, as if he were just playing a children's game. But the man agreed to the proposal and left the house of Chianan. Bukun Sogun was a hyperactive girl, so Heavenly Destroyer constantly had to tell her that she would behave more calmly rather than running around the hotel. Ven Yun noticed that a gentleman who a few days ago Chan Un-hyeon asked to accompany their company looked sad, so he came to ask what happened. The man worried that there are few visitors to the Chianan home recently. Most likely this is due to the latest events when a bunch of warriors were killed in the building. Because of this, the members of the Alliance Marima rotate sideways or inside. They constantly interrogate the guests and closely follow their actions, looking for all the tricky. Therefore, of course, many people have avoided the institution. When Ven Yun realized that the orthodoxy was guilty of this, he was very angry and promised to solve the problem. He soon decided to the headquarters of the Alliance Murima, asking Chan Un-hyeon to bring him. The head of the local branch of the Golden Frog Bank said that many entrepreneurs suffer from orthodox. Ven Yun was raging because the Alliance had to fight against the warriors of the demonic path, not against the usual people. Chan Un-hyeon said the most affected by traders. Orthodoxy decides who has the right to sell their goods and who is not, and local people are not so bold that they are to defend themselves. The guy wondered if it influenced the Gold Frog Bank. The man replied that no. The reason is that the bank is supported by the imperial family and ministers. But not everyone has such connections. Ven Yun realized that favorable conditions for bank development were provided by Hwan No and Huej No. The cart reached the destination. Alliance Marima headquarters looked very expensive and parade. At the entrance of the guy was met by guards. They were told that visitors would not be in the near future, so they were wary of it. Ven Yun began to call the manager of the Orthodox organization without paying attention to the guards. From the door, a dissatisfied figure was slowly emerging, which immediately began to call the uninvited guest. The leader of the Alliance branch was a long-time acquaintance of the young man, Yu Hyeon Chan, who was not happy to see him again. Ven Yun was very satisfied. It simplified the task. The man had to be polite and invite a young man inside. After a small exchange of insincere courtesy, the guy said that the Xianan house in which he stopped was constantly surrounded by suspicious types. Yu Hyeon Chan, trying to support a low conversation, began to scold these scoundrels. And then it turned out that Ven Yun spoke about the members of the Alliance Marine, and the man's face froze for a couple of seconds. He then exploded from the table and ran away somewhere, saying that he urgently needed to the toilet. Once Yu Hyeon Chan learned that strange people rented the highest floor of Chianan home. Later, he ordered his subordinates to closely monitor the building and interrogate various visitors to the pavilion. So Yu Hyeon Chan flew into a room for one man and managed to leave Chianan alone. Then he quickly turned back to a young guest, talking about fictional problems with the stomach. Ven Yun joked that his stomach was hurting because the man did not think about the consequences of his actions. The guy hinted that he realized where Yu Hyeon Chan was running and assured that he would not have problems if the Alliance warriors would bypass the pavilion on the 10th road. His interlocutor promised that he personally traced the guy's request. Ven Yun, at the same time, decided to ask a man about recent events in Marima from his point of view. He supported a legend that went for 3 months to other countries. Yu Hyeon Chan hung up his story on hunting for the followers of the demonic path. Most of the information was already new, but he learned something new. It turned out that some demons were fruitful sales. That is why the Alliance Marima tries to take control of the trade sphere. The man constantly conflicts with several orthodox sects, including the 5 clans. Everyone else expresses the full devotion of the leader of the Alliance Murima, so he does not experience these quarrels. It seemed to the young man that a man was really sure that he was given the majority of soldiers and his plans were not threatened. But Ven Yun has a different opinion. Once upon a time, the emperor told his granddaughter that a giant dam was able to destroy a little rat. Then the boy was very surprised. The fact is that rodents create holes that cause cracks, which decide the fate of the dam. My grandfather made a parallel with the empire and called to pay attention to minor, at first glance, problems. Ven Yun was almost sure that the number of enemies of the alliance would grow. He thought in this case the Doku Han Shan, a former head of the Northern Blade Association, who now managed the alliance. As Yu Haiyan Shan asked when the guy was going to enter his organization, he was confused and then said he planned to do so in a couple of days. As a result, he managed to avoid a long conversation about it, but the young man promised to visit the leader of the alliance, Murima. Chan Un-hyeon brought him back to the pavilion. The guy immediately told Mr. On that he had agreed, so he has nothing to worry about. While they were talking, Mu Yon Chijon approached the young man, hidden with the help of a heavenly demon technique, and informed that they needed to talk. Ven Yun was secretly informed by Mr. On the Informed that the guest was waiting for his group. He arrived from the demonic sect. The young man asked the man to make sure that no one went to their rooms for some time, because he was very tired in the day. The guy changed his face with metamorphosis to a more threatening while he climbed up with the demon. There he saw several people, one of whom was completely hidden with hooded clothes. This person reported that 10 days are too long. Demons were not able to wait long. It became clear by the voice that a secret person was a woman. Ven Yun, with the help of thought, quarreled the demons for letting suspected people to their temporary residence. He justified that the woman was sweet. The young man introduced himself to unusual guests and expressed his respect for the fact that they, despite the uneven forces, did not allow themselves to conquer. He decided that the woman in the hood was the head of demonic sects. The hidden person reported that the guy is wrong in one of his two statements. Demons really gave a worthy repel of Orthodox, but it is not their head. Ven Yun was surprised because he wanted to meet with the head of demonic sects and asked who she was then. The face dropped out the outerwear. Under it all this time was hiding a young girl. She introduced herself to a military advisor to a demonic path named Shagal Cho Honorable. The guy has heard her name many times. It is probably known to everyone in Murim. He did not think what to see with her, even so fast. Shagal Cho Han noticed his astonishment and assured that he was amazed with a young man, because he would be rumored to be bloodthirsty. She added that Ven Yun is also very nice. The guy starred. Bukan Sogun appealed to the military advisor, calling her sister, and noted that her words that Mr. A, wonderful man, were true. Ven Yun did not like that her student was gossiping about him with a stranger. He hoped that she didn't tell too much. The guy said he would like to talk face to face, freeing them from the extra work of their subjects. The girl agreed. Bukan Sogun didn't want to leave them, so the demons had to pull it. The girl asked Chagal Chohan then to tell her what they were talking about. So, Ven Yun, with the war advice, demons remained alone and sat at the table. The young man did not restrain himself and asked what his student told. He also apologized for the fact that the girl may have had time to tread Chagal Cho Honorable. The interlocutor assured that the conversation was not very long. The advisors were only interesting to find out at Bukun Sogun, which of the young masters seems to her now the most powerful. The young man asked what answer she gave. He thought she called her master's name. Chegal Chohan said Bukun Sogun told about two such warriors, Marima. The first is, of course, he, a faithful successor to the heavenly demon from Mount Taishan. And the second is the heavenly jade dragon, which follows the righteous path that the people love. The girl noticed the strange expression of the interlocutor and suggested that he had heard about the second warrior. The guy confirmed her opinion, but in his soul owned a dissonance from herd. Chegal Chohan said that these young masters, along with the Doku Hanchan, the head of the alliance, and I Chishan San Fen, is called 5 Murim's 5 Heavens. Ven Yun never heard that name. The girl explained that she had recently been invented. Despite other representatives of the faction, the most interesting people for people are young masters. The young man asked why they were. The explanation is simple. Both appeared extremely unexpectedly and quickly gained popularity with their extraordinary power. Chagal Chohan said she was interesting to watch them and look at the result who would be stronger. Ven Yun didn't think it would be so out of control. He just masked not to stand out from the crowd, but as a result confused the whole muse. The heavenly demon expressed that it was, on the contrary, a great opportunity. You can easily use what people do not understand. Huainan quarreled the purple essence for another horrific thought, but Ven Yun agrees to some extent with the celestial demon. Shigal Chohan reported that it should tell him something important if he does not deny. The young man does not mind. He is wondering why she came to him previously proposed by him. The girl said directly that demonic sects ask him for help. They need his powerful power. Ven Yun expected something like that. He asked if the demons did not cope. Shigal Chohan has assured that she has enough mental skills, but it takes a bit different against the power of the Alliance Murim. The guy said he was also an ordinary person who has no big army that could help in their fight. The counselor expressed her belief that some are extremely extraordinary in front of her, the one who can solve the result of the war. The young man was pleasant from flattery, but he could not help but ask what demons would do if he did not help. Shigal Chohan said they would not hurt him. But it may be a rumor that the successor of the heavenly demon has stopped at the Xianan house, and the Alliance Marima is unlikely to miss it past the ears. The counselor assured that the guy would have to fight in any case. But he can choose with or against the demons. Ven Yun did not expect such determination and trick from the girl. Now he realized why the Alliance Murima has not succeeded. The guy wondered if he had to cheek. However, he said that he had conditions for cooperation with demons. First, Ven Yun does not want someone to control his actions. Secondly, demonic forces should help him if he needs it. Shigal Chohan said that the conditions are significant, and the young man behaves as if he were reaching the title of the Great Master. Ven Yun, shining with bright red eyes, assured that he would be enough for the title of Great Master of Demonic Puta. Shigal Chohan agreed to dubious conditions, but she also had an additional request. The guy called her cheeky. She agreed with his statement, but felt the obligation to take the risk. The advisor wants to enlist Ven Yun. The young man understood that he could give up. Shigal Chohan will not sort through options when her people are in danger. The girl said that the domestic policy of demonic sects suffers a lot. The authority of the Council of Elders and the Grand Master is rapidly declining. But it is difficult to do something when demons are conducting a war with members of the Orthodox path. The guy asked how he could take advantage of demonic sects if they discord them inside. Shigal Chohan replied that you first need to remedy the management situation, then the opportunity will appear. This is her request. Ven Yun suggested that if he has access to domestic policy, he would be able to seize power to himself. The girl hinted that he did not mind if it happens. The main thing is to return order to demonic sects.